Get my mic over here.
Thumbs up.
Did the mic go that way? No, here's my mic.
It's a little one. Do you not have one of these?
Right here, but it's usually closer. Anyway, we're fine. These mics are really good. We've had new mics installed so people at home can really hear us, and hopefully you can too. Usually my voice carries. So welcome to the opening of the Hanover Selectboard meeting of April 10th, which you believe it or not, 2023. We're here tonight to have some fun and do good work for the town. I couldn't help but notice coming into town tonight that I don't think any Dartmouth undergraduate ate inside tonight. The green was full.
Picnic tables on the green too.
Huh?
There was a picnic table on the green.
All I can say is the green was full and they all looked happy, and I just made the assumption that nobody ate inside tonight. So welcome spring. First order of business as always is public comment. It's our practice to provide an opportunity for public comment at the start of each meeting. Comments or questions should be directed to me as chair and are limited to 5 minutes so that we can keep the meeting moving. If your comments are on an agenda item, please hold it until the agenda item is taken up. Responses, if any, will be provided at my discretion. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address before you speak. Is there anyone here for public comment? David.
My name's David Vincelette. I live at 93 Lebanon Street, Hanover. I'm a retired Army officer. I signed an oath, sworn oath to God, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I continue to try to make that happen. The town dumped poison for 20 years where children swim. And when I finally got them to stop, the town and the college, neither one apologized for what they had done. When we complained, they put a fence around our property, held us in violation of federal law, in violation of the Constitution for 25.5 months. Closed off our ability to make a living, took our rental property and bulldozed it, left us with minimum food, water, and abandoned us. And I came to these meetings as best I could. I couldn't drive a car in and out of my property. All I could do was walk up here to these meetings. And I asked this 5-member group plus the town manager to free us. They refused. Took a court order to get him to open up our driveway and fire lane. And by then I'd already lost most of my property. While I was yelling for help, I reached out to the Daily Dartmouth, the Dartmouth Alumni Magazine, the Valley News, the Upper Valley, New Hampshire Online. We didn't have a Hanover Happenings then, but they haven't covered anything about it either. There's a closed community in the Upper Valley that doesn't allow much out. Now, this board has restricted my speech to 5 minutes now. They have refused for over 6 years to answer any questions I bring to the board in violation of the state constitution, which requires responsive government. They've also closed off the other business portion of the meeting to me, so I'm not allowed to speak then. These board members have all violated their oaths of office by allowing lies to stand unopposed and questions to go unanswered. It's gone on for too long. Now we have a new town manager who's been here 9 months, who I've called and asked to return a call. And even though he knows that I say he's been hired by criminals to hide criminal polluting and the abuse of my family, he refuses to call. It's not a priority for him. But he has time to make movies. But he doesn't have time to call people who have been abused by this town government. Something needs to change.
It's a hard way to open meetings. Any other public comment? Whit, please step up and introduce yourself. 5 minutes, Whit.
Okay. Hi, I'm Whit Spalding. I'm the chair of the Hanover Conservation Commission. I'm here tonight just as an individual Hanover resident. I just wanted to share some thoughts on the article number is escaping me. It's the conveying of the 5-acre parcel for Brook Community Forest to for affordable housing. And all I just wanted to say is, first, I'm absolutely in favor of this process. I wanted to briefly thank everyone who's been involved so far to bring it this far. Rob Hausman, Levitt Family, Trust for Public Lands, our anonymous donors, the Hanover Conservation Commission, Hanover Conservancy, and then everyone here who has moved the project forward since we created the funding for it. My real question is, what is the process after, if this warrant were to go through, is the parcel going to be conveyed at that time, or is that a subsequent exercise?
Okay, we may be out of order because we will obviously be bringing that up tonight as a part of our discussion of the warrant articles.
Okay, great.
I
think we should take it up.
Right?
I think we should take it up
Sure,
now.
let's take it up now.
Or I move we take it up now.
That's fine with me.
That's
fine
okay,
with me.
Chair.
But it might take more than 5 minutes, is my concern.
Yeah,
Might take more than 5 minutes.
right.
And I'm happy to submit my other questions just for the record and be done too. That's
No, we'd love to. I really think we need to take it up when we do the warrant articles.
Yeah.
I think it deserves as much talk and consideration as we can give it, and it is on the agenda, so
That's great. And
let's do that.
I can absolutely, the rest of this I can, the questions on my mind are whoever the partner is going to be, because I think Twin Pines would be a great choice, but I see there's an option for others, is to make sure they're very transparent with, can they create this pocket neighborhood concept that all the donors and stakeholders who made this project come this far, can they make that happen? Do they have experience with that? And will they be transparent with their budget model so they understand the potential range here? Because the range has grown, and that's okay. But if the site somehow constricts the number of units, will they be transparent with how that affects their model?
I think we'll
And I have some various questions to that I can just submit to the record, and I think I'm done. I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We'll definitely want to address all of those issues.
Okay, great. Thank
As
you.
many as we can. Others for public comment? Sorry.
Kari Asmus of Dartmouth, Hanover Center, and I am speaking for myself right now. And the topic is going back to my questions. I was here last June, and then in February I asked about Memorial Day, Muster Day, and I'm aware that it's sort of becoming closer and closer, and I understand that, you know, for when I asked during the budget season about next year, that there is the concern that Memorial Day is no longer a break-even event, and that's kind of a problem for having Memorial Day. And I just wanted to bring up that I did check our veterans tax credits that were paid out in the current year versus what was budgeted, and as it turns out, we've paid out $2,000 less in credits than we were anticipating in this current budget. And so to the extent that the problem is that Memorial Day isn't a break-even event, I was wondering if it would be possible to, you know, use some of those funds that we did not spend on veterans tax credit to make sure that that we have that important event, which, you know, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, who are watching, we call it Muster Day, but it's actually the day when we pay tribute to those who have served. The Boy Scouts are involved, the Girl Scouts are involved, It's a time for, you know, the community get together. So it plays so many important roles. And I was just hoping that maybe, you know, tonight, you know, there could be a head bobble about, yes, this is something, you know, that we think is important, or the select board thinks is important, and that we don't want to skip another year because it was disrupted by COVID.
Yeah, I mean, may I just?
Please.
So, I think that the break-even concept of our Parks and Rec department, which has been, I mean, this event was often sponsored and put together by Hanover Parks and Rec, if I'm not mistaken. And kind of this whole concept that, you know, 4th of July has to break even the events, and, you know, we have to break even for childcare or after-school care. This is a community that we have to spend money on certain things, and I think that we should be acknowledging our veterans on Memorial Day at the Hanover Center, and look to see what it costs. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents. But by trying to break even on all of these events, I mean, we should be frugal, but we should not just not do them because it's an inconvenience or we're not breaking even. So.
Bill?
I think besides, I agree with the concept of, on the break-even thing for the whole department, so I agree in principle. But the other issue is, my understanding was there was a lot less interest of the different groups, that they weren't available. So I don't know that, I just heard that. And so if it's only the money is in the way, that's one issue. But if there's a lack of participation beyond some limited group, then I just think you got to factor that in and have people discuss quickly, will they do it?
I mean, I would say that, I mean, COVID, pre-COVID, so 2019, there were about 100 people that showed up. The big problem, I think from the Parks and Rec's perspective, was that the Hanover High School band, whoever was available, came that day, and there was a director of the band who was willing to volunteer time on Memorial Day. When that individual retired, the new director was no longer interested. But as I mentioned in February, I don't think that and then the Lime Community Band played, and they, I guess, charged $600. My thought is that nobody was coming for the band or the music. The Boy Scouts have shown up through COVID every year and changed the flags and burned the flags and, you know, done their bit even though nobody else was there. The Girl Scouts, I think, would come back and read Dr. Seuss again because it is also about promoting peace on that particular day. And, you know, yes, I don't know how difficult it was to get a speaker. But that's
Okay, so
the
we're at our 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm happy to not break your rules of protocol because I know you need to be consistent. But I was hoping to get, because it's less than 2 months away.
Got it. Okay, so my suggestion, we take that under advisement, please, and talk with Parks and Rec and see what their plans are.
Do you want me to talk to John and?
Yeah, figure out
And
see what the
encourage
plans
him
are
to
and
make
see what
it
we can
so.
do.
Yes,
It's my
and
feeling.
See what the issues are and see what they are.
and we had talked a little about during the budget process, we had sort of lifted the revenue and appropriation that we were all kind of on the same page that we weren't necessarily going to be tying those two things directly one-to-one to each other going forward. So that is a little bit of a change this year, but I'll talk to John Sherman and see what the story is. I wish I had some information offhand, but I'll talk to John and I'll follow
Thank you.
with everyone.
Appreciate it. The next order of business, I think there's been some concern that we don't have authority. We don't have yet the proper authority to do easements as we have in the past. So, and I think you told me that's article something.
It's 14 on the warrant, but our attorney who has worked on this in the past is out right now, and we spoke to the other attorneys that are back up at her law firm, and they were not sure of the history, so we all felt like it probably makes sense. There's no time sensitivity to this at all.
So I'm moving, we just move past this article, this agenda item and push it off to either after town meeting when we know we have authority or
Right.
legal.
So we need authority from town meeting, is that?
That seems to be true, and that we have that Article 14, which is RSA 4114A, which would give us the ability to purchase and sell property, but we just want to look into the history a little bit more, because I think some of these had been done.
We've never gone to town meeting for
Right.
easements.
Right,
Not,
but
not in the 8 years I've been here, and there's been a number of sidewalk easements and
Right.
plowing easements, and we just approved well, anyway.
The questions come up.
Let's
Yes.
get legal counsel.
Right, exactly.
Questions come up as whether we have had appropriate authority to do that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we
let's
don't know,
get it right.
we don't know the answer yet, so we're just gonna, there's no time urgency on this, so.
No, none
No,
at
some
all.
of
Let's
them
figure it out
are
and do it
outstanding for 10 years, so.
Right.
So the third order of business is the reading of the Arbor Day Proclamation. I've asked Bill to do that.
Okay. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now absorbed through the nation and the world, and whereas trees can produce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees wherever they are planted are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, whereas Hanover, New Hampshire has been recognized as a Tree City, USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways, now therefore, we, the Select Board of Hanover, New Hampshire, do hereby proclaim April 21, 2023 as Arbor Day. Further, we urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
So moved.
So moved.
Seconded.
So second. Well done, Bill.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's been read into the official minutes.
So there's a signature here, we can pass it around at the end of the meeting.
Okay, good. We have 2 proclamations to read tonight for retiring, both in the public works. Yes, please. Question?
Can I just ask a question about the prior comment? How will,
If you have to come
Please,
up to the
please
mic.
come to
if
the
you're
mic.
gonna speak.
Introduce yourself. Thank you.
Karen Dialing, Hollenbeck Lane, just wondering how community members will hear about this so that we can all plant a tree on April 21st, which is around the corner. That's my question.
Well, I'm sure it's going to make it into the minutes of the meeting. I'm sure it'll become a part of his administrative report, and we'll do our best.
Thank you.
But spread the word.
I'll do my best.
We have 2 proclamations to read. This is one in recognizing William Brown for 10 years of service and achievements working for the Hanover Department of Public Works. Whereas Bill Brown was hired in the Hanover Department of Public Works on April 29, 2013, and whereas Bill began his career in the Highway Division as a heavy equipment operator before transferring to the Water Department in April 2019. During his time in the Highway Division, Bill provided endless hours operating a sand truck and served as a backup plow driver, and was always helping out whenever needed, as he was versatile in all aspects of highway operations. And whereas upon transferring to the Water Department as a water technician, Bill was a key player at the water plant, working in the lab to make sure that our drinking water was safe and compliant. And whereas Bill has spent many hours keeping the dams at Hanover's reservoirs clean and safe from hazards, and whereas Bill also spent many hours maintaining the water right-of-ways and the roadways to our water tanks, reservoirs, and pump stations. And whereas Bill, thanks to being an adept at mechanical aptitude, has been able to keep pumps running, make repairs to treatment equipment, install water meters, and service water valves. And whereas Bill was a person who you would see during winter storms in the sidewalk tractor in downtown Main Street, maintaining the sidewalks for all residents, businesses, and visitors. He was also out evenings during snow pickup to help the highway crews. And whereas Bill spent every other week on call and available for emergencies at the water facility, and whereas Bill was always clear early to start his workday and was very professional to residents, business owners, visitors, and other employees. And now, therefore, I, Peter Christie, on behalf of the Select Board members, community members, and employees of the town, do hereby issue this proclamation to William Brown in recognition of his many achievements, and we extend our gratitude and appreciation to Bill for many years of exemplary service to the town. I will sign this proclamation, and we will get it to him as a part of some ceremony.
Want me to read the
I
second one?
thought there was one other whereas, and I
I don't think you got it.
I think I got them all.
You're fine.
All right, I thought I had one more, but I don't. Okay, a new one, right? This is to recognize Moses Delphi, did I pronounce that right? For 19 years of service and achievements working for the Hanover Department of Public Works. Whereas Moses Moe began his career at the Hanover Department of Public Works in January 26, 2004. And whereas Moe was initially hired as a light equipment operator in the Highway Division, he quickly developed skills necessary to earn a commercial driver's license and became a heavy equipment operator. Moe operated 6 to 8 wheel dump trucks, heavy equipment including backhoes, compact rollers, vacuum sweepers, and bulldozers. Moe assisted in roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, culvert replacements, bridge repairs and replacements, ditch cleaning, and plowing snow for nearly 600 snowstorms. Whereas Moe is known for his great demeanor, many positive interactions with the public, and willingness to tackle any project presented to him. And this is the one I love. And whereas Moe is known for his love of fishing and ability to spin a good tale. Whereas Moe recently retired from the town of Hanover, reluctantly retired from the town of Hanover on March 24, 2023, he will be missed by all. Now, therefore, I, Peter Christie, on behalf of the Select Board, community members, and employees of the town of Hanover, do hereby issue this proclamation to Moe Defilia in recognition of his many achievements, and we extend our gratitude and appreciation to Moe for many years of exemplary service to the town. And again, this proclamation will be presented to him. Okay.
Mr. Christie, may I just
Please.
point out that his that Moe's special certification in heavy equipment is one of those abilities that we are dearly missing as we're looking for new employees. It's been a quality that has been pointed out to us as being a deficit in our labor market in general.
Okay, so the next order of business is a request for abatement of water sewer bills for property on 34 Rayton Road. Alex, I was a little confused as to what exactly, whether the town supports or does not, staff supports or does not support this abatement.
That is a good question. And I can, if you'd like, I could get a little more information from our Public Works Department. I understand they went through a fair amount of testing and did not find any reason why there should have been such a high water bill, like there wasn't a leak in the system that they were able to identify. But I don't have any more information about whether they are recommending that we accept the abatement or not at this time.
Okay, well, I would like,
So I can get a little more information for you all about that.
I mean, it is quite a bill, but
It is.
sounds like they may have left something running while they were out of.
yeah,
out of
this
town.
issue where someone's been away, came back to find a very large water bill. Town could find no leakage, town could find, and the water meter was working properly, blah, blah, blah. So the question is, did this person just inadvertently leave the water flowing somehow, some way? And even if they did that, what would our position be relative to that? I think we do need a town, I would personally prefer a town recommendation before we act.
And what I'll also look into, which I'm not sure the answer to either, is if we can do something other than zero all or nothing.
I'd say split the difference.
Right, which would be my thought if we're able to do that, if we've done that in the past, but I can look into that a little bit
I
more.
don't think this is timely, so we can,
I think that's
but
probably true.
I'd recommend, or I suggest that we get a town recommendation, staff recommendation.
I'll look at that, yeah.
Thank you. Yes?
When we're asking about whether it's timely, is interest being charged? And that would have an effect.
We could certainly, I think if,
They paid it. They paid the bill and they asked
It's
if
a
they
retroactive.
could,
Okay, thank you, yeah.
the bill that they paid use for future payments or.
I missed that. Yeah,
and there might be a way to do it because it's broken out into the water portion and the sewer portion, and so perhaps the town takes a position that we're happy to refund one of those, but I can look into that a little bit
Thank
more.
you. It's one of the more substantial ones that we've come across.
It's a large, yeah.
$1,500, just to put a number on it. Okay, so, next order is the pre-town meeting public hearing to consider the proposed warrant for the 2023 town meeting. Those who want to get a chance, I love doing this. Open the public hearing. So I think we typically would do is we go through the warrant articles one by one, and then I also want to go through the explanatory information one by one. Maybe we should do those in, not twice, but do them once at one time? Okay, so, where's my part one? Okay, so the first articles are planning board articles, if I'm not correctly. Article 1.
Article 2 through 7.
Article 1 is select board members. I did have a question about the explanatory information on that. If I can find it. Yeah, let's go one at a time, and we'll also look at the explanatories at the same time rather than coming back. So this is where we acknowledge that there are 2 select board members to serve for. There will be 2 select board openings. Bill is stepping down. Bill and my terms are over. Our 3-year terms are over. Bill will be moving on to another career with, I'm sure, other nonprofits. And I do plan to run again. But there are 2 other applicants for the positions. So there'll be 3 people running for 2 seats. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. When I read the informational article on Article 1, first of all, I think we got to get Bill's and my names not italicized, please. And secondly, it reads as though I am running unopposed for 1 seat, and the 2 new candidates are running for the 2nd seat. And I do not believe that is the case.
Actually, do
So-
we ever do an explanation for this? Because it happens in Australian. I know, I guess we do.
No,
I don't remember ever explaining.
I think there's an explanation for every one of them. So all I'm saying is I think that paragraph has to be rewritten to be clear that it's 3 people running for 2 seats,
positions.
not my running unopposed for 1 and 2 others for Bill's. You see where I'm confused in that language? Okay, so I'm sure we can correct that quite easily. Other than that, I had nothing on Article 1. Anybody else have anything on Article 1? Now, Articles 2 through which are the planning board
7.
articles? Huh?
2 through 7.
Through 7 are planning board articles.
Yep.
And I'll just say it for the sake of saying it. I mean, the articles are typically need to be drafted very specifically to meet DRA requirements. So sometimes the warrant articles are not as you and I would write them, but they're written to meet the legal requirements. So the articles are written to meet the legal requirements for these articles. But I found the ones for the zoning board to be the informational pieces for the ones for the zoning board to be not particularly informative. So I don't know what anyone can do about that at this moment in time or between now and when these have to go to press.
When's press date? Tomorrow?
Basically tomorrow. Wednesday, but really tomorrow.
So maybe
The
it's not,
articles read as they normally read. And
Right.
of course, I'm used to the RSAs and most people are like, what the heck? But I would agree that what are you voting on is a little more challenging.
I know. So I'll just use an example, just for the sake of it. Under the very first page where ballot voting articles 1 and 11, under Article 2, amendment number 1 was developed, I'm quoting now, was developed to allow existing student residences to be the renovation, replacement, or expansion of a student residence existing as of May. Does that, am I missing a verb, or am I missing something in that?
The verb tense is wrong.
So I use that as an example of, one example of items that I found to be not as helpful as they might be. But maybe it's too late now. The planning board submitted these, they're drafted by,
The explanations we can make final edits to.
right, even, when do you need to go to press with these?
Tonight, tomorrow morning.
Okay, so I don't know, that's probably a bit too late.
I mean, that's a sentence, that sentence structure is not correct.
No,
It
so,
should be, allow existing student residents to be renovated, replaced, or expanded. Student residents that exist as of May 9th, 2002 may be renovated, replaced, or expanded as long as the cumulative increase is less than 35%, period.
I just use this as an example.
Right, no, it's just.
And I go through every one of them
Yeah.
and have the same kind of, is this helpful or not?
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, if someone wants to take it on overnight, I couldn't, I don't have the I don't have the knowledge to make it better. So maybe we just go with what they presented.
I mean, I'm happy to work with Rob to take another, kind of go through here. I can't always promise that all of my rewritings make things more clear, but I'm certainly happy to give it a shot.
Okay.
Are we talking about
I
rewriting?
did, that was a helpful, yeah, I got that
We're
one.
talking about rewriting the information package.
The information,
Not the
okay.
warrants.
Thank you.
The warrants are the warrants.
It's done.
But just the information package, I think could be more helpful if we spent even another X hours particularly on these. Okay, so any other comment by the board on the ones presented through 7? 2 through 7.
So Articles 1 through 7 are the ones that will be voted on between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Yep.
And I guess we actually have to vote on each of these, do we not?
No.
No, we don't. We vote on the next ones. Okay, I'm up to Article 8.
Yay.
Okay, so Article 8 deals with, election of town officers, and I didn't have any comments on those.
We don't know what's going on.
Or, I didn't have any comments on that or the informational content for that. Does anyone else have anything on Article 8?
No.
I wish the pages were numbered.
Okay, so, I move Article 8 as presented.
Peter,
Yes,
to point of order,
Yes,
excuse me, I apologize.
sure.
I don't think we've talked about this in years past. I don't think we have to move them. I think we just vote.
Just vote? Okay,
Yeah.
let's do that. I don't move anything, but I'm ready to vote on it. Anyone, is everyone ready to vote on it? Okay, all those in favor of Article 8 as presented?
Aye.
5 select board yes, no against. 9. Okay, this is the article relative to the wastewater treatment bond. And
Can I go back for just a second? What
Sure.
are we going to do about, because the 1 through 7, we won't have a vote of the select board?
there is no vote for the select board on those, just ours.
Oh, wait a minute, for the planning board,
which
for
one?
It's up to the
the
planning
zoning
No,
amendment?
it doesn't say for or against on the bottom of it, does it?
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah, I think
It does.
those come from the planning board.
I don't see it.
I don't know.
I thought it did.
I'm looking to Kari because I saw her walk in
Right here.
with last year's town report.
Public hearing on
Approve.
planning board. We don't vote on it.
Because I left mine on my
Right.
We
table.
don't vote.
Yeah.
So what's the issue?
Because
So I'm sorry, we don't vote on
We don't
those.
vote on those.
We don't vote on them.
Can I say?
Yes.
But a number of people have said to me,
Yeah, these don't have a
would not
select board vote
Right.
Okay.
from last year.
It said,
Okay.
Yeah, just the planning board.
yeah, if you look at the end of each one of them, it's the Hanover Planning Board voted to recommend the town meeting approve this
Right.
zoning amendment.
Okay.
It never
Okay.
says anything about the select board.
Right.
That's the standard
stand corrected.
approach.
But I can still take the feedback about the
It's the
explanation.
business meeting agenda that has the 5-0.
You do take the feedback about grammar.
Yes, yes.
Which one, please?
Verbs
So the
and
business agenda has.
Verbs and such.
5-0. Yeah,
Article 1?
no.
I'm confused.
The business meeting agenda,
Yes.
so Article 8 through whatever
Yeah.
has exactly what's on here.
Right.
Select board for, against, absent.
But so we've done one of those already. We did
Exactly,
8.
we only got like 25.
Yeah, we gotta keep moving.
I know. So here we go.
My apologies for
Sorry.
Okay, so we're up to 9. Does anybody have any questions on the warrant article itself or the explanation for 9? The informational package on 9.
Again, this has been discussed
Oh, yeah.
in great detail by the staff, reviewed by the attorneys. We've talked about it a few times, so.
Heavily discussed during the budget hearings. This is.
So, I mean, it's a lot of money, so I don't want to just have the impression that we're casually going over these.
No.
But there's an awful lot of work behind this that we've talked about extensively, so this is just a process we're going through right now.
Okay, so are people prepared to, ready to vote on Article 9?
Yes.
Yes.
All those, something or other, all those in favor of Article 9?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Article 10, another big one for a bond issue for the water distribution plan. Again, this has all been a part, it's been discussed heavily and all during the budget process as well. Are there any questions by anybody on Article 10 or the explanation of Article 10? Hearing none, are we ready to vote on that?
Yes. Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 10 passes unanimously. 11, this is the fire truck for 1.2 million. Again, heavily discussed as a part of our budget hearings. Anybody have any questions about the article itself or the explanation in the informative piece? Again, these have all been distributed, so hopefully you had a chance to review them.
Okay.
Which one are we on? 11.
11.
We ready to vote on 11?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Again, the vote is 5 in favor. Moving right along. Article 12. I did have a question on the warrant article itself. If you look at Article 12, the way it's written, in the second sentence, if adopted, the credit will apply to every resident of this state. Does that need to be capitalized? Because it's capital below. It's a capital below. Under B, it says every resident of this state is capitalized. So I bet you need a capital S there. Did you look into that one?
Yeah, sorry, which line is this on?
Second.
On Article 12, line 2, end of the sentence, of this state.
Which,
Needs to be,
Or is the other one incorrect?
I don't know.
I'm trying to call up a dictionary really quick.
Okay. And then it says, of this state, who is any person who is a veteran. Is that English?
this is in the explanation?
No, this is in the article itself. This is in the article itself, the warrant article itself, under 12. Third sentence, is any person who is a veteran. Is that really what the article, is that really what the, warrant article should be?
There's too many nouns in there.
Statute reads, that is the language.
Yeah. Yeah, this is all directly from the attorney who pulled it from the statute, is my understanding.
We have-
What you're-
It sounds
yeah.
very familiar.
Attorneys
Alright.
are not,
Okay,
Yes.
again, a lot of these warrant
True.
articles are driven by the law, and they don't necessarily, have good English.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
My reading of, I think I've got Webster's here, is that it should not, neither should be capitalized.
Neither should be. Okay, so down on line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, under B, S, little s. Okay, no more discussion on the article itself?
No.
Art?
Another explanatory comment.
Now we're discussing the explanation.
Right, so for Article 12, I just wanted to, the first line in the information says, in 2012, the town voted to increase the veterans tax credit from $50 to $500, the maximum allowed by state statute. I just wanted to make it clear that it was the maximum at that time, and it is now $750.
Really? Okay.
There is always the possibility that at town meeting, somebody could try to amend it, and, as long as we all know.
Okay,
that's
I'm
the
gonna
new-
change that to state as a maximum allowed by state statute at that time.
Yes.
Okay, that was been inserted. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Where was that?
I put it in.
You got it?
Okay, can I just go backward, I'm sorry. On 11, in the explanation, the third line, I think that allows, I think towns has to be plural. Emergency 1 offers a program that allows towns to lock in a future. So that's a typo, okay, please? Okay, 12, any other comments about 12? The article itself or the comments?
It should be, it actually should be allows the town, because it's Hanover, right?
Well, Emergency 1 offers a program that allows, they think it's a general program, it's not just us, they offer it too.
Oh, I see, I get it.
So,
Yep,
okay, just needs to be plural.
all right.
And maybe it doesn't have to be capitalized.
Yeah, I think a little thing.
It probably shouldn't be capitalized either. Should be a small t in towns, okay? 12. We're up to 12? We're up to 12?
We need to vote on 12.
Oh, yeah, we gotta vote.
Okay, so are we prepared to vote on 12?
Yes.
Yes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5 again. Solar energy exemption, 13. Okay, this is a general question. On 13, the article, it's the warrant article itself goes into somewhat of an explanation, as do some of the others. And I'm not sure it's harmful, but I'm also sure, and it's sort of in terms of process. So, for example, in Article 13, starting about 6 sentences, 6 lines down, this readoption is required. You could eliminate those 5 sentences, and I think it's stated in the informative piece. So I'm not sure why we would have some information about the articles, this particular one, and not in the others. That's my concern. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, it doesn't appear to, as you just said, it's not harmful, but.
I'm not sure it's harmful, but it's also not
It's
consistent.
cumbersome,
Right.
it's inconsistent. I say it should be part of the explanation.
Okay, and let's assume that for the second, then let's go to the explanation, and do we do a good job of explaining it?
I think the warrant is better than the explanation. Well, no, well.
But again, is there a reason for the particular language of the article? Does it
Right, good
coincide
question.
with?
I don't know, we'd have to check that out.
I would just leave it.
Is one of them clearer, or is there language that you?
They're not, I think the explanation, again, the question is, why would we put an explanation in a warrant article as compared to in the informational section? Why would we pick out this warrant article to put an explanation in?
Well, I mean, what we can do is look at, if we can take the language out of the warrant article, then we'll look into that and double check. And if we can take it out, we will, and if we can't take it out, or we're
Leave it
told that we shouldn't take it out, then leave it in. Does that sound about right?
I think that's
Okay.
right, and I think the explanation.
And that's from
In
this
the
adoption
warrant.
forward,
Yeah.
and the sentence is this readoption forward is what we're talking about, okay.
Correct.
And that's almost more clear than, it is more.
It is more
than
clear.
The
So-
explanation.
It might, I agree, so it might be easier just to leave both as is, given the time constraint.
Okay? Or, I'm happy to let's just leave it then, let's just leave it. It's not harmful, it's not particularly controversial.
Just leave it in the warrant?
I'll leave it in the warrant.
Okay.
It's not controversial.
Okay.
And it's a little unusual, so be it. So are we done with, anybody have any other questions about 13? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Joanna? you ready?
Yes.
Yes, okay, 5.
Still trying to understand.
So what are we up to here?
14.
14.
So this is the,
This is one,
this is the one.
yeah.
About selling land.
Doesn't say anything about easements, by the way.
It doesn't.
So that's what I didn't see. When you said we had something in front of that, I didn't see it. Do you think it's included in this?
Well, I think we need to.
I think it might be, and our attorneys weren't sure.
Well, I guess we better be sure.
Yeah.
How did that ever come to pass in the first place, since we've never encountered it before?
What's that?
The question of easements.
I had a question, we also had a question from Kari about it as well,
I see.
who asked us, and I sent it over to Rob, who is not sure of the history, and I asked our attorneys today, and they weren't sure of the history, and they said, okay, let's wait.
Thank you.
Well, I would recommend that if easements need town authority, then easements should be explicitly in Article 14. What is?
Well, can we look up RSA 41 right now?
I copied the RSA in the explanation.
Well,
Okay.
14.
This is a common tool that most towns in New Hampshire have in place. It enables the town to more effectively navigate the development of housing or other economic or community uses by allowing decisions to be made more frequently than once per year at town meeting. This article mandates a public process that requires the involvement of the Planning Board and Conservation Commission to notice public hearings and the ability for 50 voters to defer the decision back to the next town meeting. Because of the goals being drafted through the Sustainable Master Plan Advisory Committee, for example, that call for the town to build and facilitate the construction of more affordable housing units, staff are proposing this article be adopted so that the town is better able to meet these important goals.
Yeah, but then the RSA goes on and on and on.
Yeah, that's the explanation, the RSA is
Right.
copied below that.
Right,
I'm
I
sorry.
don't, in skimming that, I don't see the word easement at all.
No, but I will say I'm looking online right now and I see a handful of minutes from other communities in New Hampshire where 4114A is being referenced in the execution of easements.
And we have certainly done this before, many times.
Right.
Okay, so,
Peter, you have a question?
Garth, please, sorry.
If I could. So Kari Asmus, I'm speaking as just myself again. I did want to point out that the statute's language appears twice in the explanatory information, which why it looks so long. But it was revised in 2021, and the language that you see here in orange was added, and it doesn't appear in the explanatory information. So to the extent that we cite the RSA, it should be the current RSA, not the former version of the RSA.
What's that?
It's from 2021, they revised, it has.
Sorry, I mean, what's this from? Like, what website is this from?
That's from GenCourt, that's from the
GenCourt,
state,
okay.
yeah, that's from the state website. I can give you, that link if you want, but it's the nh.gov. And I just wanted to say that it's generally understood that when you talk about the sale or acquisition of land, that it's generally understood in kind of legalese that it also means anything of a lesser interest. Easements are of a lesser interest. So that's, I agree that you could probably change the language of the warrant article to explicitly say that, but it's sort of like the language mentions the thing that has the most impact. And then everything underneath it would also be allowed. So that's why the language is as it is. You may or may not like it. And then I have, so that was my background information that I hope would help you. And yes, I was the one who brought it up during the Bent easement, you may recall. And so it was from that they dug out the emails from January. And that's what really brought up these questions of whether we've been doing things correctly or not for these recent years, or for a long time. So I don't know how many.
Can I just break in?
Yes.
So could perhaps be appropriate to add a sentence to the explanation
Yeah.
that this will also include giving the town the ability to accept easements.
Yes,
Something very
Lesser-
simple sentence.
It would be fine. There's this particular RSA does not dictate the wordage. And even if it does, there's another RSA that says that if you change the wordage, it doesn't affect the legitimacy of the warrant article. So if you feel that would add clarity, I agree with you, and it would not be inconsistent in the least with the intent of the.
Okay, so
I have a sentence at the end of the explanatory part before the RSA that says this would also allow the select board to execute easements, and I wasn't sure what language we just used, or other lesser.
And,
Transaction of lesser.
of lesser interest,
Transactions of lesser interest outside of town meeting.
yes.
Is that fine?
just lesser, I
want
don't
me to
mean
read it again?
outside the town meeting, just of lesser interest, or lesser whatever that word is.
Yes,
Take out the outside of town meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This will allow the select board to accept easements and whatever that magic word is.
This would allow the select board to execute easements or this would allow the select
I
board
just put
to.
easements, just put easements. Just stop it there,
yes,
Okay.
fine.
just stop it there.
Done.
So reading this, and if you've read it, it's still very complicated. It goes to the Conservation Commission and you get their recommendation. It goes to the Planning Board and you get their recommendation, and then you hold 2 hearings, no more than 14 days apart. And then you have a 3rd meeting where you actually vote on it. And I want to say the one thing about the explanatory information, it says that the 50 voters can then refer it back to town meeting. But in order for that to happen, the 50 signatures must be submitted before you, the select board, take your final vote.
I guess I tried to simplify it a little bit, rather
Yes,
than having
but
all
I
those
think-
details.
Right, but without, I agree with that since it's there, but I think the explanatory information makes it sound like, okay, if the community.
How would you change it, or would you, do you have a recommendation for us?
I'm saying, yes, so I would like to, I have some, I can
Perfect.
hand these out.
Great, thank you.
I would like to amend what is being considered here this evening. And I hope I'm I've got 2 extra copies, I think, for anybody who is interested in what I'm suggesting in the written ones. And actually, I have another.
And all these
In-
sound fine to me from whatever it's supposed to be.
Oh, thank you. So that people who are listening, it's the verbiage that I would like to add is that, well, it says that you shall first submit any proposals to the planning board and the conservation. And I would like it to say, they shall first give due notice to abutters. Because, okay, I see head
no, that's
noddings, I
good.
hope that's
That's fine.
obvious.
Yep.
And then I would say further, the proposed acquisitions or sale shall be inserted in an article in the warrant for the town meeting upon written petition of 50 registered voters presented to the select board within 14 days of the select board vote, as opposed to before the vote, according to the provisions of RS 39(3). Nothing in this adoption prohibits the select board from presenting the sale or acquisition of land, buildings, or both to town meeting. So there might still be something that you would say, you know what, we want to take this to town meeting.
Yep.
And people should be clear that that's still to be allowed. So those are the amendments that I would like to make.
Okay, so let me just go backwards. So on the warrant article itself, was this drafted by our attorneys?
The warrant article itself, yes.
Okay, so I'm a little reluctant to change the warrant article, but I'm not reluctant to change the explanation.
Yeah.
Just because of,
Then I can make these amendments at town meeting. You know, again, the question, you know, for you would be, is there anything, well, you might say that this is, you know, inconsistent with the, that there's somehow something inconsistent. But again, basically under state law, if you want to, you know, you can't make things more restrictive. I mean, you couldn't take more rights away from the public to participate in this, but if you have things that are safeguarding the public's right to participation, you can. But I am happy to take the amendments to town meeting, and then the moderator.
I think,
I don't find anything wrong. I mean, I'm
Right.
not arguing about it. I'm just saying how to
can-
do it properly here.
can we just,
I mean,
we've
but,
already identified that we have a couple questions for our attorney.
and also this one, I think Kari mentioned this, the language for this RSA is not specified by statute. And so the email that I got from our attorney with this in it, it was not this must be, and the language was something along the lines of, here's a way to phrase
Okay,
it.
why don't we go to this language and then just check it out to make sure we're not getting in trouble.
Do you have time to do that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can,
Yeah,
The-
we can try, yeah.
well, and
Think so?
the motion that you have tonight to accept the warrant could be, you know, could say with, you know,
Contingent
whatever
upon our
contextual, you know, edits are necessary. And then if it turns out that tomorrow the lawyer looks at that and says, you know, I don't like that, you know.
Kari,
I
can
can
you
take
email
that.
me this text?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so what are we doing? We're gonna move this
Well,
as a warrant article?
It was the same with the other one, is I think, right, which is basically saying that if we can make this change, then we make the change, and if our attorney says, please don't make that change, then we don't make the change.
Okay.
Something along those lines.
Can we kind of be emphatic with her that we would like this change made? Because
Yeah,
the
that's-
less, the less business that we have from the floor, the less that you have to stand up there and, you know, talk to 350 people who don't know anything about this, I think the better off.
Yes, it's
you
gonna be
and
a
we are gonna
very
be.
busy, long night.
It will be.
And
Yeah.
if anything, I would say giving due notice to abutters is, you know, of the two things, probably, you know, the most
Sure.
important.
Right.
That if the lawyer says yes to one but not the other, the
I
notice to.
suspect these will both be okay,
Yeah,
is my
and
guess.
a notice to abutters is pretty.
Right.
Okay, great.
standard.
I think we'll be okay with it, yeah, or she will be okay
So
with
are
it.
you ready to move on this revised warrant? Other
Can I-
questions? I'm
Do you
sorry.
have questions on this one?
No, okay.
Anyone here?
So-
Sorry?
No, I just didn't know if anyone had
Okay,
a question
so,
on this.
board, are you prepared to vote on this modified warrant?
Yes.
I hear yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Carl. Where are we up to? 15. My goodness gracious. Okay. Article 14, Article 15.
Okay. There it is.
With one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my own thoughts together here. I did have some. Hold up. Okay, I had a suggested word change for the third paragraph, I guess it is.
Are you in the
Beginning
warrant
with
article?
now.
Are you in the warrant article or the?
I'm sorry, the warrant article, yes, let's do the warrant article, which is straightforward, very straightforward, right? Any questions about the warrant article itself? 15. Okay, then, now we're talking about the informational piece. And this is my my recommendation for revision beginning with now. Let me, and I'll pass it to all of you and I'll read it. I brought a whole bunch of copies, but maybe I wasn't expecting this many folks, which is okay, this is good. I just simplified it, and I think because it was I'd be honest, Alex, I got confused, and I don't remember discussing a public forum to address the projected design, the project design and density. So I wrote this. Now, in accordance with the 2020 vote, the town is seeking town meeting approval to transfer the land to Twin Pines or other developer. Changes since 2020 vote include the parcel being 5 rather than 4 acres, and due to zoning changes since 2020, the parcel has the potential for X units rather than Y units, and I don't know the answer to the Y. As part of the transfer, Twin Pines or any other developer will be required to present the development plans at public hearings, and the final plan will be subject to select board approval. I think that's what we're trying to answer your question with. Go ahead, I'm sorry. So the key part here is, as a part of the transfer, Twin Pines or any other developer will be required to present the development plans at public hearings, and the final plan will be subject to select board approval. I think that's the process.
As well as planning board approval.
Select board and planning board?
Yeah, I mean, it has to go through planning.
Actually, it has to go through the normal zoning and planning, right?
I just don't want it to be implied that the select board are overstepping the planning board.
Be subject to zoning and planning board approval?
Yeah, in accordance with the land use laws of the town and in addition, select board approval. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to normal, regular planning board and zoning board approval and select board approval. Okay, thank you.
Maybe the word review instead of approval. Because otherwise, I don't know if that sounds like we're sort of legislating the approval.
I think we would approve it. We don't,
No, I'm saying that it's not that we're requiring that the planning board approve it. We're requiring that the planning board, maybe
Well, yeah, no, the planning board
review and
has to
approve. I don't know.
Review and approve. I mean, it has to go through normal normal land use review. What's abnormal here is it's town land.
Additional, right.
And we're saying the select board wants to weigh in and say yay or nay.
Right.
Which is unusual.
But we're not directing the planning board to approve it.
No.
Right, I know, that's not what we're doing. I just want to make sure it doesn't read that way.
Be subject to regular planning board and zoning board
Review and approval.
And approval. And.
If approved.
And select board approval. So you have 3 gates. After public hearings, you have 3 gates. I think that's the process I have in mind.
And this is for the language of the warrant article? This is for the language of the warrant article?
No, this is for the language of the explanation.
Okay.
The informational piece is what I'm referring to now. So I would keep the first 2 paragraphs, the town of Hanover, Bob. Okay. I would take the word ability to opportunity. I would read, the town of Hanover has the opportunity to add much needed workforce housing by moving forward with the transfer, blah, blah, blah. Then I'd say the language, keep the second paragraph the same, then I would insert this as paragraph 3. As a better explanation of what we see as the process. Whit, you want to take a look at this?
No, I think you're great with that. Just after you say plans, you may want to think about metrics so that they're transparent with whatever the metrics are behind whatever they decide, as in X component would be too expensive or X.
That's all. That'd be all part of, again, we turn to Twin Pines and say, can you make this work?
Yeah.
And then they have to come back to us through a public hearing process to say how they think they can make it work. then again, it'll be subject to planning board, zoning board, and select board approval after public hearings have been discussed. So that's when all the details come out. That's when, how many units, what they look like, what the parking is, all that stuff that goes into a site plan review or into a site plan.
Is it your sense that they will be transparent, whoever it is, that you can require them to be transparent with the economic metrics for their model? Okay.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's a really important component.
Again, I think this is gonna be a difficult project to pull off, given the increase in housing prices and building prices. But that's why you turn to a Twin Pines, if they'll accept this as a challenge and try to make it work.
Yes, and if there are some pieces in there where the metrics are difficult for them, we may be able to find some partners to help too.
Absolutely.
Because there's been a lot of collaboration to get it this far.
And that, they would typically do that with Twin Pines. I mean, they're a very good partner in all this to try to make something positive happen.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
Does that answer some of
Yes.
the questions anyway?
Yeah, thank you.
And do you have the exact, I didn't get every word exactly there.
Or any other developer.
I will give you the exact wording.
Okay,
Did you get this piece of paper?
I do, I have that.
The only thing we're adding is, in the third line, it's gonna read, thanks to Nancy, any other developer, or any other developer, insert the word any. And then you'll have to fill in the number of units. And then we'll add a sentence at the end that says, the final plan will be subject to, insert regular, that's the right word, regular planning board and zoning board review and approval, and select board approval.
Okay, can you,
I'll give it to you.
okay.
All right.
So Kari Asmus again, and I'm only speaking for myself. And I'm aware that there are a number of people here tonight who live much closer to the Minkbrook Community Forest than I do, and I feel a little bit bad about speaking first, but since I'm so used to it and nobody else raised their hand, I thought I would come forward. And it's just that I guess I'm coming at this from a little bit different perspective, and part of it is that I've followed town processes for a couple of decades now. And I think that we all think about Guile Hill. I'm also the town archivist, you may not have known, but this is the brochure that was handed out before town meeting that year. And I think part of the reason why it went as smoothly as it did, although it was full of challenges, was because so much foundation was laid in advance. So before it went to town meeting, there was a site analysis that was submitted to the select board. There was a feasibility study that was submitted to the select board. And then there were two public meetings before town meeting. One was at the Howe Library and one was out in Etna at Trumbull Hall, and those were led by the Affordable Housing Committee, other citizens who had worked so hard and knew all of this back and forth. I come at this and it's like, I don't know that I'm that comfortable. I mean, I feel like I don't have enough information to vote comfortably in favor of this on May 9th, although conceptually, I think everybody gets what a great marriage of conservation and affordable housing this is. The last time I was here, I mentioned that the land that we're talking about transferring is where the parking is, which I've seen full. This whole project, it was primarily focused on conservation and public access. And now I'm wondering, the land that was concerned, I just saw a question of maybe what am I talking about? So if you get rid of the parking and don't have another place to put parking, how do we have public access? How do we, and if we max out the build design, how do we protect that wildlife corridor that's along the wetlands? Because I think I know that when I thought 6 to 10 units, it was like, oh yeah, then you can put the units away from that. And I have to say, it's that wildlife corridor is on the state maps of being of high state value. So this is what I'm saying, and I get that you get my point, So I guess I would like to also hear from more of the neighbors, what are they thinking about it? And, you know, my question is not whether or not we are for this. The question is whether or not this is the right timing, and in particular, if 4114A is adopted, which I bet it will be, you know, you will not have to wait a full year for another town meeting to come around. You know, you could do a bit more community outreach now, use 4114A, and you know, and I think that you might take more time now, but it may save you time in the long run. So anyway, thank you. And I would like to hear what other people think. I'm sorry to always go.
Okay, but just, please, in a second, but my response, I guess, Gary, those are all very good questions, and that's why you involve a Twin Pines, to answer all of those plus a zillion other questions relative to that before it comes to this board for approval. And public hearings and all that public input would be, in this community, quite significant. Anyway, that's...
Well,
so,
I actually, in response to Kari, I remember Guile Hill, and there was a lot of public meetings. I was on the Conservation Commission at the time. We did a lot of site visits. We engaged with the community to make sure it was done right. I mean, I feel affordable housing or workforce housing in particular, is critical, but I'm not comfortable going from 4 to 5 acres without any kind of site plan or site assessment on this. So, I mean, if we can do a little more due diligence on this and use, you know, work hard to get the Article 14 through, we do work with the developer, not necessarily Twin Pines again, and then we as the select board can make it happen. We can go to 4 to 5 if we have.
I think the 5 is a number. I mean, that's what we bought, or that's what we received as a part of that negotiation.
5
It was 5 acres.
Whatever.
So it was misstated or not accurately presented previously. But it is 5 acres. That's a fact.
Okay.
It's not going from 4 to 5. It is 5 acres,
Okay.
even though we reported it as 4 a year ago. And so, would the other article really give us the ability to do this?
I don't know.
think so.
I'm not sure it does,
doubt
because
it.
if you look at the language from the 2020 warrant, it says approximately 4 acres will be transferred to Twin Pines Housing Trust for future development of a small cluster of cottage homes for workforce housing, subject to future approval at town meeting.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
very
may have,
explicit,
yeah,
right?
that may not, even with 4114 passed,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that language that would allow.
And because the Guile project was,
That was
a huge project, you know, very huge project. Many
I mean, in
acres.
theory-
That was a project where we were giving land to Twin Pines to make it happen.
Well, we are here too.
No, we own the land, we own the land.
And
Yeah, you're right, we're giving it to Twin Pines.
Right, that's what this
Yeah, I agree
article
with that,
says,
I'm
right?
sorry. Please, I'm sorry, introduce yourself.
I'm Margaret Bragg. I live at 108 Greensboro Road, which is about 10 feet from the access road to the current parking area. And so I will be impacted by whatever happens in there. I've been very supportive of the idea of workforce housing. When my husband and I bought our house 40 years ago, we said, great, a house in Hanover we can almost afford. And so I understand what people need. But I am concerned because at the 2020 town meeting, as the town manager has just read, was talking about a small cluster of cottages. And Julie Griffin was saying that there would be 6 to 10, probably 8 units. And when I listened to the select board meeting from February 6th this year, I heard 14, and then I heard 29, and then I heard Guile tract, and it sounded like a monstrous change from the small cluster of cottages. And I also noticed that in the map I have here, this is 4.99 acres, and now we're talking about 5 acres, so I don't know what's happening with the acreage. That's one concern. The number of units is definitely a concern. And
Can I just step in? No one is proposing anything about the number of units tonight. We just,
no, I know,
we
but I
felt,
did listen to
we
the
felt,
February meeting.
we felt the need because for transparency, to say two things have changed.
Right.
One of them was the 4 to 5, and the other was the zoning change, which would potentially allow, if it made any sense, but nobody is suggesting any number of units at this point in time. But we felt obligated to tell the public that there was the potential for more units, but we have no opinion, really, I kind of doubt it'll go that far. But we're not recommending that at all. We're just saying we need to disclose to the town that this is a possibility, just for transparency. So that's what's motivating us at this time.
I think that people who donated to Trust for Public Land that conserve this property were more in sync with Julia's suggestion of perhaps 8 cottage-like units.
And that could still
that's what
come
I'm
next
hoping-
day.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yep.
And as far as Kari's concerned about parking, I too have been to events there, snowshoe hikes and such, where the parking area has been filled. And I have allowed people to park in my driveway because there was no other place to park other than along Greensboro Road. So I'm concerned that there needs to be parking, and I don't know where that's going to be. Anyway, and I certainly also would prefer that the access road be further than 10 feet from my property line. Those are my concerns.
Thank you. Others? Please.
Good evening. I'm Edgar Parado. I live at 124 Greensboro Road, which was formerly 110 Greensboro Road. You had made a mention to May 9th. What is happening May 9th?
Town meeting.
Okay. And on May 9th, what's going to be discussed regarding Article 15?
There's a warrant article which we can read quite quickly, which is Article 15.
It's going to be discussed again, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
this
there'll be
will,
a vote taken by town meeting that will be binding, and so the vote, essentially what we'll be saying is, does the town want to convey 5 acres to a workforce housing entity to develop workforce housing, in essence, right?
Right, the warrant article.
And the town, at the town meeting, there'll be discussion on the floor, and then we'll ask for a voice vote or raise of hands, or if we need to, a secret ballot. And that decision will be binding, and if the town votes yes, we'll convey it to a developer to develop workforce housing with, guidelines as to what will go there. Then they will put together a proposal, do the due diligence on design, go through the zoning board, the planning board, and then ultimately the select board will say yes or no.
So do we have an opportunity before May 9th to petition for this Article 15 not to be considered?
Well, I think you voted negatively if you don't, it's gotta go to town meeting. If we decide to move it forward tonight, it will go to town meeting. And then it'll be brought up at town meeting as a part of the warrant articles, a part of the business meeting. Then the town will vote to accept it or not.
So just to clarify, at the town meeting that night, whoever shows up are the voters.
Right.
So no matter what paper gets passed around on the side, doesn't have any
Doesn't
legal impact. So it's whoever shows up that night and whoever votes that night, then the decision is made.
But
On each one of these articles.
And so basically what it's saying is that the people who are voting that evening agree that 5 acres is going to be developed for workforce housing. As was discussed in 2020, as was part of the land trust deal, or the Trust for Public Land deal, that there would be this amount of land protected, we would sell the house to make money to help pay for that, and we would hold 4.99 acres. We're saying 5, but that's essentially, it's 4.99 acres for workforce housing. And that is what the decision would be on May 9th.
However, through all of these processes that we've talked about, the zoning, the planning, the select board, there will always be public hearings, and people will always be able to come forward and try to influence or try to add their voices to the debate. There will be several times over the next year, if this passes on May 9th, for people to come in and share their concerns and questions with their fellow citizens.
And that's when the discussion can be focused on, should there be 6, should there be 8, should there be 12, should there be 22? And that's, how will it look? What will, that's the discussion that happens after the town meeting vote.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, so any others want to speak to this?
Karen Geiling, Hollenbeck Lane. I'm speaking totally for myself as someone who helped finance and raise community support for the project originally. And I'm just fearful that the language in the article, just the part that they're going to read on the ballot, isn't completely transparent. And I, as a voter, if I voted yes on that and then found out that there were going to be way more houses than we anticipated, not that I'm against it, I'm not either way, but it's the transparency that I would object to. And because of our support in that project and then lack of transparency moving forward, when other projects come up, it will be difficult to be so supportive if we don't understand the way the processes work. So
Well, again, the warrant articles are the warrant articles and the informative information, and then we try not to put them together. They purposely are in separate places.
I would really appreciate if we could postpone, not approve this warrant article, and have community conversation prior to such a vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, board, are we ready to vote on this one?
Yep.
All those in favor of presenting the article as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so it's going to town meeting, and we've got an updated information piece that we've worked on. Okay, Article 16. 16. Well, these are wow. These are just what they normally are. Do we need to?
No, this is rental housing.
Huh?
This is rental housing.
I'm sorry, which
Peter.
one?
16 is rental housing.
16. I'm sorry. Ooh, I skipped over that. Okay, so again, any questions about the warrant article itself or the explanation? Let's do the warrant article itself. Okay, how about the explanation?
Too many.
Now the explanation, Alice, again, the explanation, you took over this one, and you quoted, you went on for quite some time, actually quoting the RSA. My question, is that really helpful or needed to bring people up to speed on why we're doing this?
In Article 16,
Article 16, the information piece.
which part of that is,
Well, it goes on for a lot longer than any of the others.
I've only
And
got,
you quote the RSAs.
I don't see any of that in what I'm looking at here.
I got it right here. It's
For
printed
Article
out.
16,
Article 16, rental housing ordinance number 2. The actual verbiage from the information package that I got on Friday's mailing.
I mean, we have the ordinance as attached, as an attachment, which would make sense, I think, if we're voting on adopting the ordinance.
It's only here.
Maybe you've
It's
already
right here.
Maybe you've already taken it out.
I don't know.
So, this is the information package I got on Friday, right? Article 16.
Yep.
Article 16. You quote the RSA.
This is from that's from a different one. These
Okay, so you shortened it.
No, this is 4114, this is different.
Oh, maybe I'm worried about this one now.
Well, so two things. One is this is the the purchase and sale of property, and this was mentioned, this is one we were talking about, but it is in here twice, so it looks longer. But this isn't about houses, so it looks like the pages are out of order.
Yeah, pages are out of order. Did they write them?
But yeah, this has just got a paragraph, you know,
Yeah,
two
it's-
paragraphs or
Okay, I
paragraphs.
stand corrected. My apologies.
And then the ordinance, I saw it somewhere. It's at the end.
It is as an attachment.
And that's gonna be included.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so let me go backwards. So which one are we on now? We're on
16.
16. And this explanation for 16 is not what I thought it was.
It's pretty clear, Peter. It's right here.
This one just
It
down here.
starts here,
Yeah.
ends here.
Selectboard adopted. Okay,
There you go.
okay, fine.
I mean, I know I've written things too long before, but I didn't think this was one of them.
Okay, I'm happy, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. Other input from the board or anybody else on the?
Can I just say how many
Please.
times we've talked about this? My calculator doesn't go up that high.
And you're not even on plan.
I went back and reviewed the minutes of this whole year, trying to prepare for the select board report and the town report. And then I'd say that a third of our meetings had to do with this ordinance. Just a round number, but it was huge. Ari,
Okay, so I did ask before, and now that I see the exact language, are amendments allowed to this, this warrant article? I mean, it says, it sounds like, you know, it's a yes, no, do you adopt this or not? But because it's an ordinance that is adopted or, you know, by the legislative body, and I'm thinking in particular the last fellow who spoke at the hearing wanted to know, or wanted it in the ordinance, who pays for the inspections when they're requested outside of the cycle. And it was said, oh, well, the person who asks for it pays for it, but that was not put into the ordinance. So would that sort of amendment be able to be
I assume so.
moved that?
I don't know that for a fact, but
I had asked that question, I can't remember, February or something like that. Because then the way it's worded, it's like, will you vote to adopt it, and that sounds like a yes or no.
Kari, I don't understand what you're asking.
Okay, so the warrant article as written asks town meeting to vote to adopt it, as prepared by the select board. Then that's kind of a yes or no. But typically, when the legislative body is given something, they have the ability to amend it. And just the way this is written, it wasn't clear to me whether or not amendments were permitted. So that was the question that I asked, I don't know, some months ago, when I think we first got the list of all the possible. And so I was hoping to get a definitive answer on whether amendments on this were going to be allowed or not.
Amendment on the ordinance or amendment on the warrant?
Yes, on the ordinance.
Ordinance, okay.
So I guess the question that I have is, so yeah, you're right. I mean, I was thinking we were voting for the authority to adopt the ordinance. We're voting to adopt the ordinance
Right.
as presented.
Yep.
So I guess we could.
it's a legal question. We'll have to
Yeah.
look into it.
That's a Jeremy or Laura question,
Okay.
which I can look into that tomorrow.
Great.
So anyway, that was yes, my one question. And I just wanted to say, in the wording of the article, the second line, it says, and approved by the select board to establish minimum standards. And I was gonna say, we have established minimum standards. They're part of 48A13. So I feel
Are
that.
you in the information section or the warrant?
No, on the warrant article itself, which is what people are voting on. The wording says, as prepared, reviewed, and approved by the select board to establish minimum standards. And that makes it sound like we don't have minimum standards, but in fact, every town in the state with having no ordinance has minimum standards, and it's part of RSA 48A:13. So we have minimum standards, and I feel that to say that we don't is misleading.
Again, I don't know how tightly this was written in the attorneys.
I'm not sure can you say it again?
Well, I mean,
So
you could
the
just
second
say,
line-
we could say approved by the select board with the goal of ensuring that they're safe, sanitary, and fit for human habitation.
Kari, your point is valid and well taken, but I don't see how that detracts from this article. I mean, I assume you're trying to say that if somebody reads this, they're gonna go, oh, of course we need to do this, therefore we need to pass it, but there's so much discussion that's gone on about this over the last 2 years, 3 years.
And as we know, I mean, a lot of people showed up at the last hearing and said, I'd never heard of this before. And I mean, I know that we are all very familiar with this and we know how many times we've met, but a lot of people haven't, if they're just sitting down and they're saying, you know, let me read these warrant articles before I go to town meeting. You are influenced, your thought process is influenced by what the words say. And I think that the warrant articles, we need to be very careful, and I appreciated Peter's comments earlier about how much explanatory information do we want? Do we want to just stick with it? So it's really important that these be written in such a way.
Okay, so Joanne, you had an idea, a potential way around this?
That language is also in the ordinance, not just in the warrant
Okay.
article.
That's in the ordinance.
Then
Right, but.
It's the ordinance, the beginning of the ordinance, the declaration of purpose. The purpose of this ordinance is to establish the minimum standards.
Right.
So we've
Right, and it was something that I brought up before, but this is
Okay.
what we're voting on. Or this is the warrant article, and the wording of warrant articles, as you pointed out earlier tonight, is really important.
I mean, we could just say to govern the condition and maintenance of dwelling units offered for rent with the goal of ensuring that they're safe. So we could
just take out
say
those.
establish minimum standards, we could say to govern.
although in a sense we are establishing minimum standards because we're
Well,
And with the code.
you're establishing standards that are above the minimum, because.
exactly, that's my point.
Right, so
So
they're
I don't
above
think we
minimum,
should change
but
it.
we do have minimum standards.
Is the issue the
But
word
this is-
minimum?
I would,
To establish standards
Fine,
governing the
you're-
condition of maintenance of dwelling
Sure.
units?
I guess
Is that
establish,
part of that?
Yeah, sure, get rid of the word minimum.
Standards.
Okay.
that's it.
Establish
It's
standards.
going.
All right.
To the man in the checkered shirt.
Okay.
And so is the idea that we want to take that out of the ordinance and the warrant article, or just the warrant article?
Just the warrant article.
Just the warrant article, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Just
that
to be clear.
the ordinance has a different sort of standard to it. And then I just.
Not a minimum standard.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
You know, Peter,
Okay.
you always say we're gonna have some fun tonight, and two people laughed, so I think
Yeah.
we've done our job.
Thank you,
I
Kari.
laughed at his jokes.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody does.
So, and then just as a parting note, and I actually forgot something at my printer where, I mean, I still have the concern, let me say, first the positive, I am very grateful that after I brought up many times that I doubted whether or not this was a matter that could be brought forward solely by the select board. And I just want to say how impressed I am that despite being told, yes, the select board does, that even after it was all settled, that somehow it still came up and that our town manager was willing to come back and say, oh no, this does need to go to town meeting after all. And I'm just very impressed that somebody was willing to say, no, we have to do it a different way. So thank you for that. As you know, though, I did bring up concerns about other aspects of it, that whether it's the select board or town meeting has the authority to carry out certain policy objectives that I don't feel have been granted to the town, either the select board or town meeting. In this case, I have to say, I still have very serious concerns, and I unfortunately didn't bring my two examples. You know, but I just have to say, you know, this exceeds the authority in several places compared to what the authority we have from the state, and then there are other places where it's just great. And I have to say, I've been told by 4 different people associated with town hall that if I don't like it, I should take it to court. And to me, it's not a matter whether I like it or not. I mean, you all know that in terms of policy, this isn't my cup of tea, but you also know how serious I am. And I think that we've seen some of the times the difficulties that we run into down the road when we don't follow state statute. So my bringing up this concern is really from wanting for the town to have the smoothest path forward. And I'm concerned that the adoption of this particular ordinance, assuming that it'll pass at town meeting, is not going to lead us down the smooth path, potentially.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, can I have just a question, or maybe a suggestion? To address Kari's question, and to try to avoid a discussion at town meeting about one provision or other of the ordinance, can this be written just to allow the town to adopt a rental housing ordinance?
To authorize the select board.
Yes, to see if the town will vote to adopt, rather than adopt a rental housing ordinance.
The town meeting doesn't have the authority to give you the authority.
Say again?
The town meeting doesn't have the authority to give you the authority to adopt an ordinance. The RSA is very clear that it has to be adopted by the legislative body.
The ordinance itself?
Yes, the ordinance itself.
Okay, then then we'll just leave it the way it is?
Yeah, but thank you for thinking of that. I sort of was thinking that too, but.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so are we ready to vote on 16? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, okay, again 5. So we got, 17, and I didn't really spend a lot of time on 17, 18, the ones that we view over and over again.
But, so 17 and 18 they're fixing what we screwed up last year.
I think the next ones are. I think 19 and 20 fixed it.
19 and 20
Oh,
are
so there
correct.
was only $20,000 in transfer tax this year?
In 21, 22, so it's staggered. So this year isn't complete. Right, so 22, 23 isn't complete yet.
Okay, so that's not right though, is it?
Interesting, so, and maybe Rick knows this as well, I don't know. So, yeah, so we are making up for the mistake from 2021, and then
19 and 20.
and then 21, 22, that ended last June 30th, July 1st, so we should have that total. And I thought we heard earlier that it was $29,000 and some change. And that should be, and I just have to say that, thinking that the entire amount that was collected for the whole year being a very round sum of $20,000 does not sound right. So, and we're supposed to give the half and half.
So it's
right
like
now
15,
from what ended last.
1450, whatever.
Do we know the number, the specific
I
number
thought it
that's
was
in that
29.
unassigned fund balance?
So what happened was, because of the fiscal years and calendar years, the information that I had gotten from the tax collector was staggered. So I do have it mapped out year by year. And it is, and I went into our in-code system for the 21-22, and it is actually $20,000.
On the nose.
On the nose, as unusual as that seems.
All right.
So the first two, 17 and 18, are for that amount. And then 19 and 20 is a correction of last year, when only $5,000 was used, and that was the incorrect amount.
Okay. Thank you for double checking that, Ellen. It just, 20,000 just didn't sound right, but
Yeah,
now that you say that you checked it, I believe.
Yeah, and I have the property backup for it, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so any more discussion on 17, 18? It is an unassigned fund balance, that's the correct word? We use the word unassigned.
Yes, actually, that is based on direction from the DRA that we use that term.
Okay. Okay, people prepared to vote on 17?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
People prepared to vote on 18?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
19, all those in favor?
Aye.
20, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We should we should probably put a note to myself that we may want to tonight decide who's presenting these.
Yeah,
rather than
I've got
wait till the next
that
meeting.
question, yeah.
Okay. Okay, how about 21? We're up to 21, are we not?
This one's so much easier.
Okay, any questions on 21?
That's, no.
Somebody, okay. We ready to vote on
Just,
21?
I'm for this.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it passes. Unanimous.
What are we on, Peter?
Now we're
22?
up to 22, if I can find
These
it.
are Nancy's articles.
Okay, I've got my pages. Somebody help me with 22.
They're all.
Oh, 22. 22 is the long one for the reserve stuff. Okay, any questions on 22? Again, right out of the budget. All those in favor? Aye. 20, unanimous. 23, again, right out of the budget. All those in favor? Aye, unanimous. 24.
Okay.
24 is the bargaining agreement. Any questions on 24?
We're taking your word for it that all these numbers are right, because I'm not checking it against anything that I
What do you
have.
mean?
For sure.
Well, we don't have anything that really is up, they have to do it.
Yeah, we're trusting these numbers are right, that's for sure. All right,
Yes. So now I am speaking on behalf of the Finance Committee, and it's just to say thank you for all the work that has gone into getting these numbers right and checking and double checking. And in the explanatory information, we should add to that list that it does include the payroll benefits, payroll taxes, etc. So this is the total amount, and I just hats off. Thank you.
Okay.
okay,
A lot of work to get to these numbers, so appreciate it, but
so 21, the article itself, all those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. 23, all those in favor?
Wait.
22.
Right?
You're jumping. Hold on.
No,
22.
aren't we 24?
No, we're at 22. No, we haven't done 22 yet, I don't think.
No, we
We
did
did,
22,
sorry.
we did 22
We're-
and
I'm sorry,
23.
we're up to 24.
We're
All in favor of 24?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. 25?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Again, these are all the bargaining agreements. 26, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Almost there. Okay, is there any changes to the explanation pages that people wanted? Hearing none. Okay, so 20 up to 27?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on 27? Again, right out of the budget hearings.
Can I ask a really quick question?
Sure.
I'm sorry to just go back to the explanatory materials of 4, 5, and 6. Is the phrase vacation sellback?
What'd you say?
Yeah, so,
I'm looking at the very end of I'm looking at the explanatory materials. At the very end, Articles 24, 25, and 26 are clustered, and at the middle of the page, they talk about what the warrants,
explain
and
that,
all
or-
the related costs.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Full step, and I'm just asking about the
Vacation
words
time,
vacation sellback.
Vacation time
Hours?
sellback, vacation hour sellback.
Yeah.
so as part of the bargaining agreements, there's the option to, if you will, sell back 20 hours of vacation.
Is that the phrase that's used in the contract?
Oh, that's a great
That's a good
question.
Sell
question.
back? So,
Yes.
I can pull that
That
up.
sounds very.
I believe
Whatever the
believe it-
phrase in the contract is the phrase that should be used.
And I believe it is, but let me double check that.
And what are the absences for? You have absences.
Those are because those items
Oh, these cost items.
require estimates,
Okay, got it. That's
whereas the
right.
others are more
Got it.
exact.
Thank you. Okay, so you'll check on that wording?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Okay, so where are we, folks?
27?
Up to 27?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, right out of the budget discussions. Any further questions? All the, Garth?
So Kari Asmus, as Chair of the Finance Committee, I have a feeling that this is something that we may take a position on at our meeting next Monday, as well as, I should say, the bonds, which we did not vote on yet. And one of the explanatory information, the third paragraph that starts with this fund is critical to reestablish in a transparent format some cushion for cost overruns throughout the year. And I guess I am thinking that there may be interest in oh, I know, so it's reestablish cushions. And so I guess we aren't aware of what cushions were deflated.
So the next sentence is the answer to that, but I think I see what you're saying with because we're not reestablishing the contingency fund. Is that the question?
Right.
We're
Well,
reestablishing.
I guess I will back up, as I think one member who was a school board member years ago remembers that the schools used to have a contingency fund every year. And they decided that it wasn't worth very much because, the town has the undesignated fund balance, the schools now have retainage, you have, millions of dollars already. And so to have this $25,000, what good does it really do? It expires at the end of the year, you have to get back. So you're raising money, and it's just not clear what the purpose is really for. I realize in your undesignated fund balance for fiscal year 24 for the general fund, you're projecting a $200,000 surplus. So you're saying in one place there's a surplus, and then here you're saying, we need extra money for, what we don't know. And when we had one finance committee member in particular ask, well, where were there parts in the budget where you economized? And the answer was primarily, the supply lines, that they were all held flat. So we're wondering where else, I guess
I plan on addressing that pretty significantly in my talk.
Well, I know, but I think Bill can report that when we got to the finance committee meeting, the idea that holding supply lines flat was, was a significant reduction of a cushion that exists. It just seemed like there was a desire for more of an answer. But
Do you have a question about the writing? You're opposing the warrant itself, or you're suggesting changes to the wording of the explanation?
No, well, that was in the explanatory information, and I guess just wanting to understand what cushions we were needing to replenish. And again, this is information that I'm asking because we didn't spend a lot of time in the budget hearings of what exactly
I think the concept here is pretty straightforward. Alex and Ellen are particularly interested in having leaner budgets, which give us a higher probability of a cost overrun, and they want to build up a reserve fund against those leaner budgets. And this is a token beginning of that process.
But you can't build this up. It goes back to the tax.
I understand, but this will be built into the tax rate. And I'm just saying, to me, this is a token beginning to accomplish that objective. Whether you find that objective worthy or not, that's a whole different question.
Okay. Well, it was just that I would like to be able to take more information to the finance committee because, again, the experience that different members on the finance committee have had is that that there wasn't a lot of value added in having a contingency fund such as this one, when you have an undesignated fund balance. And so I just wanted to make sure that we were not missing something.
Got it.
Yeah, but there's also, I mean, as you know, you can't just spend the undesignated fund balance.
And you can't really just spend this either.
You can, you just have to report it. Right, but the undesignated fund,
but
right,
you
you can't
have to
just, the undesignated fund balance isn't a cash cushion that you can use. It's not appropriated for spending throughout the year, right? And as we've gone back and forth over the last, couple weeks, months about the budget, we have found accounts that have been over budgeted, right, as we've talked about. And we've reduced those accounts down to numbers that are very lean. And so the odds that there's going to be cost overruns in the future is much higher than it was before. And that's partially how we were able to accomplish adding so much money into the budget for things like staff compensation without a 13 or 15% tax increase. And so the $25,000 is definitely not enough in the contingency fund. We've removed much more than that from the budget that was previously over budgeted in various different accounts. And so I don't have an exact number. You'd certainly be more comfortable with $200,000 or $300,000 in this account. But like Peter said, this is the first sort of foothold to build that up. I mean, it's perfectly reasonable. I don't think, every government in every place, everywhere always has to have a contingency. And so perhaps the school budget didn't need one. But what we're saying is that we're recommending that we do need one. And there's a tool available for that cushion. And instead of sort of distributing that money throughout the budget where folks can't see the amount and there's no reporting of the spending, if there is a cost overrun, we're comfortable putting that money in there and basically saying if we do encounter cost overruns, that's something that we would report in the following year.
Okay,
Great.
so I'm going to move on.
Yes, is that,
Okay,
Help
I'll
answer that?
take that, I'll take that to the.
I mean, we can definitely provide, I thought we had kind of talked about this a lot before, but we're happy to provide more information if we can.
It arrived in the budget fairly late in the process. It wasn't in the first drafts.
It was
at
in the
least
second
not
or
as a-
third draft, yeah.
Yeah, I would say not.
Out of the 6 or 7 drafts, I think.
Yeah, and then there were many drafts.
There were many drafts.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, okay, so we're on to,
We got to vote on 27.
we have 27 to vote on. Any further discussion on the warrant article itself? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous. Any edits to the explanation?
I think we're fine.
And we're certainly happy to make things more clear if we can.
Are we the fund is critical to create, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Versus
mean,
reestablish, because I don't think we've ever had a contingency fund, so it's like we're
I
creating.
could see that being confusing.
We're creating to show some transparency in terms of how we're not letting you use, this is the slush fund. And if you wanna use it, you have to.
We have to report it.
You have to report it.
Right.
Whereas
That's
in the past,
can we
there
put
was
that in there?
There was always some extra money out there that magical things could happen. And
It's
so
unlikely
this
to
is
be
a
that, right.
contingency fund that you're gonna have to come before the board in order to spend it.
And that further down in that paragraph, you talk about rebuilding it, as it potentially you should just create it or something like that.
So I did just, so what I'm
Right.
looking at here language-wise is the first sentence reads, this fund is critical to create a transparent
Yep.
cushion for cost overruns.
Good. And
And
then
then Athos, where was that?
down, see the parentheses
Oh.
it will take? Right before that, the word rebuild, you might want to change.
We do want to say, oh, I see, it's already in here.
How about
We
just
just want to
build?
make sure to put a point on that this isn't really quite enough, most likely.
Right.
But we say that in the following sentence. I guess this sentence is actually a little repetitive.
Okay. Yep.
Is the position of towns on the select board. So I think actually we could just take out the whole first sentence.
The whole
And then
first
it'll
sentence?
start with many cost savings, and then the second sentence isn't
Sure.
repetitive anymore.
Sure.
Is that a little clearer?
Taking out the sentence
Yeah,
that
why don't
begins
you work
losing
on
that
it?
cushion.
You clean it up.
Yeah, I just took out the sentence before many cost savings were found.
Okay.
And then just leaving the rest, or I can,
Just get rid of rebuild.
okay, great.
Right, and that,
And I can-
for the parentheses. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Could I add after, in the parentheses, it will take several years to fully fund, or something like that?
But when you say that, it gives me the impression that you're carrying over the amount each year. So
Right.
this year, coming year would be 25. If you don't spend any of it, it doesn't carry over.
Right.
So,
Right.
but the
It's-
wording you're using gives me the impression you have that option.
I mean, we're saying that it's built into the tax, Peter said, like, it's
No, I
built into the,
understand.
yeah.
That's very clear.
But yes, the account itself.
Yeah.
Is there a better way to express that?
I mean, basically, you're talking about, well, whatever the number is, I mean, the top line is $28 million budget down, it's a $33 million budget. You're talking about $25,000 to give you some flexibility if things run over. Because what you're trying to do is tighten the budget on all fronts.
Small number.
All right, I mean, that's what it comes, I'm trying to, is that right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
right now,
That's what you're
the
trying to
history.
Yes, no, I think it's just the reality of how small the number is hitting
Yeah.
both
So,
of
I mean,
us.
that-
It's like less than
The hit- yeah.
0.1%,
The
yeah.
historic approach has been, there's been some give in the budget, that when things didn't, ran over a little bit over here, there was some give someplace over here. What
Right.
your goal is to tighten the overall budget, be as accurate as possible. But you need some wiggle room, because there's always something that comes up unexpectedly. I mean, that's what, but 25 grand in a $33 million budget is not gonna get you very far, but you're trying to, but next year,
Introducing
you might say,
concept.
well, based on our experience, we just made it, we would like to move that up to $50,000. So that would be an add more to the budget of $25,000, not 50, because you already got the 25 in. Is that the concepts? I'm not,
Yeah,
and
I
so-
mean, it's a good way to say it, I think.
where with undesignated fund balance, which each year in my history here, there's always been something left over at the end of the year.
Right.
But it could have been spent, but it wasn't. And then it gets carried over to the undesignated fund balance. And then we get into the debate on, well, if you don't use it for just one-time issues, you're overexpended. But in reality, it's a contingency fund, quite frankly. That's how it's been used. And then the next year, we're worried, wringing our hands, we will have enough money? We do. So that's the history. I'm not saying that's the right history, I mean, the way to do it, but that's what's happened. You're trying to shift that to be a little more, I'll call it, or use the word accurate on your projections, but you can't predict everything. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to every method you use. I'm just trying to understand what you're trying to do, because in the finance committee, which is going to get into this, there's different opinions, and everyone has a right to their opinion, but I'm just trying to get down to the reality. We're talking about 25 grand on a $33 million budget. I'm not going to get overly excited about it, quite frankly, because I'm hoping that you're going to tighten up the budget on all fronts, and then we're not going to have this couple $100,000 left to then go into the undesignated fund balance, and then we're going to spend it on something that's a continuing issue. So that's what I've heard you say. Am I misinterpreting it?
Nope. Nope,
Okay.
I don't think so. Right?
Different comments.
Come on up, Carl.
Okay, thank you.
Peter's wordsmithing over here.
Okay, good.
I have no idea.
So Peter doesn't have to listen to me. So one of the things that's not really making sense is that, well, it's not, the 32 million, obviously that it also includes wastewater and water, and
Yeah,
there's no way that.
use the 28 million, whatever number it is.
Yeah, I know,
it's small.
but it brings up the point that the one fund that you have that could most use this would be the fire fund, because if they have an overage, they can't go borrow from the police department, they can't borrow from, I mean, you have the authority of, what is it called, when you move things from one,
Transacting?
What's that?
Okay.
There's a specific, RSA, that means that if the police department has an overage and the libraries have an underage, you can move it from the libraries.
Within
to
a
the
fund.
police. Within the general fund, department to department. The fire fund doesn't have that. And this year, it's going to be close. It could have a deficit, and it will use its undesignated fund balance, and I have some ideas for Ellen that I've researched. But I mean, of any of your funds that need a contingency fund, it's the fire. And you're putting it in the general fund where, there are still, I mean, you're beefing up the termination benefits, you're, adding this and that, and so you've added a number of little things. And so again, it just, it doesn't, passing the does this make sense test it's more of a challenge than the budget as a whole, which if you hadn't heard, the finance committee voted to unanimously to support. And it was, primarily.
They've heard.
Pardon me?
They've heard.
Okay, they've heard it, good, oh, they've heard, but I didn't know if the select board had heard.
No, yes.
Oh, they did, okay, great. So that's the thing about
We meet
contingency
weekly
funds.
now.
Pardon me?
We meet weekly now.
I'm here, just about.
You're with us.
So, Peter, I know you did some wordsmithing, I did too. Here, I don't know if.
If you merge the fire fund, it wouldn't be an issue, right?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
agreed.
If we merge the fire fund, it wouldn't be an issue. So that's a topic that'll be down the road too.
Yes.
I think
Not
we need
tonight.
to, let's get
No,
permission
it's
from the
impossible to do.
board to wordsmith this.
Okay,
So
and so can we vote to do that and with, and
we're
Peter?
voting on the warrant article, not the.
Right.
That's
not-
true, right,
Not
okay.
not the.
Oh, so you're saying we should just change all the, never mind.
That's right. Okay, so have we voted on the article? Have we voted on 27?
No.
No,
Okay,
wait,
Yes.
yeah, we did.
I thought we did.
We need to vote on 28,
All right,
which is a minor one.
Which is that little 28555313.
oh my God, yes. Any discussion on $28 million?
No,
It just,
no discussion.
I mean, I'm serious. Did we vote on 27?
We voted, didn't we?
According to
Yeah.
Carrie.
I've got it
it's
down.
keeping
Yeah.
Thank you.
5-0-0.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
any further discussion on 28? No, all those in favor? Aye. And about 29. Any discussion on 29?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. 30. Any discussion?
Okay, wait.
Good, go, stop.
I have a discussion because I think, and this is going back to my issue with what we're paying our child after-school care providers. We are now increasing town clerk's compensation. Actually, I was thinking of 31. 30, I think this is fine. Sorry, I'll say 30 is fine. I'm in favor of 30.
Okay, did we voted on 30?
Nope.
Not yet.
All those in favor of 30? Aye. Passes unanimously. 31.
31 is my issue.
Okay.
I am fine giving people an increase. I go back to the fact that we're not providing childcare for after-school care for our elementary school people. And here we're just saying, okay, give our supervisor the checklist, of, what is that, 24% raise or whatever it is. And we can't have that discussion with our rec department. So, because I'm pretty sure that those aftercare providers are probably not getting $15.
They are.
Are they getting 15?
Yeah, it's more than 15.
Okay, good.
Right?
Yeah.
We did look at it, when we did have a conversation in a select board meeting, and we did set aside a very small amount of money, met with Parks and Rec to see if we could move the lowest tier up a little bit after the conversation that we had about OST being canceled. And there are a cascading set of compression issues with other staff in the department. And so moving them can't be done without moving a whole bunch of other staff. This doesn't have that same issue. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't move the Parks and Rec staff up, but we are doing our compensation review of all of our staff this year. So I would be surprised if those didn't move up through that process. So I would say personally, I don't disagree with, I think, your sentiment, but this is actually a lot easier because it doesn't affect any other staff directly. Whereas the Parks and Rec, it would have, and we did talk to John Sherman about it. We looked at everybody's pay rates after that meeting and moving the lowest up. And although we probably have it, I don't remember what the hourly rate was.
I don't either,
It was closer to 20, I think. But I'm not 100% sure. But it was too low, and we all agreed, but moving them would have bumped them up to the next staff and then the next staff to the next, and it would have just,
Okay,
so it's just more complicated.
so are we setting ourselves up? I mean, we're automatically, go ahead.
Well, I mean, these are supervisors, the checklist who work, they work elections, they meet regularly, but they're not even part-time employees,
They're not employees in
Right.
that sense, yeah,
and they don't get any benefits or.
correct.
So, Joanne, I'm not arguing with you, we should pay
We should pay
appropriate
everyone,
wages to
right,
important, we
right,
should put
right.
money where people are
Right.
crying for
Yeah.
need.
Yeah,
And believe me, I know all this, I work with all those people.
Yeah, no.
And I agree with you completely, but I think this is fine.
I'm amazed these have to come as a warrant article at town meeting. Why is that?
Clerk definitely does. The other two, it's a little unclear, and we had a little trouble finding past references. We spent a little bit of time going through emails and files and had a little trouble identifying when and where actually compensation was set for the election officials. And there was some conflicting documentation from different people from different years. And so we thought the cleanest way to do this was if we have to do the clerk, and that does have to be a town meeting, to just put everybody together and just do them all at the same time in one spot. So in the future, if we needed to look back, it's all
Where did they
together.
ever come up with $11.51?
It was at one point $11, I think, and then at one point $11.50, it was moved to $11.51. Does that sound right?
Moving on.
Okay.
That's fine.
Oh, there were colas?
The
Yeah,
colas.
maybe, yeah.
Okay, so we're voting for $15. So we do 30? Yes. Have we done 31 now?
Wait, we gotta vote on 31.
We have voted on 30, I believe.
Yes.
And have we voted on 31?
No.
All those in favor, further discussion. All those in favor of 31?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, here's 32.
This
I was 32.
this is
I was confused by 32. Sorry.
32.
yeah, no, I mean, is this statutorily allowed?
This is required, not allowed.
To have a
Yeah.
committee, to
Yes.
set up a committee to
But I
discuss.
thought it
is-
was a planning board.
You can, it is required for the planning board, or if the planning board doesn't do it, the governing body can appoint a committee and it has to have one planning board member on it.
Okay.
But that is totally
No, I know,
clear.
I know this.
Right,
I always said, why is.
but our planning board doesn't do it,
Planning board does not do.
right, which is fine, and we can, but then we.
Okay,
yeah,
so statutorily, okay,
Yeah.
I support this.
So, okay, but I support it because we have to do it.
The best way to support something.
But what I think in the write-up, I think we just,
Shane,
I don't think we want to lay out all the detail of what that committee looks like. Because we haven't discussed it.
True.
Huh? So I don't think there's any need to. We need to establish it. It has to have whatever the statutory requirement is. And I think we just say that this is
Yeah, whoever presents it should just say we need to do it.
we have to do it. And we've done it a different.
I'll do it.
Okay, so I would suggest that we modify the write-up, the information
To not
piece,
mention those
to
people.
make it as minimal as possible.
Okay.
And not specify exactly who's gonna be on the committee, other than what's required, which is, I guess, the planning board does. Planning board has to have a representative.
Can I,
Wanna take
super
this?
easy is proposed membership onwards, delete that, that's easy. But before, there's a little bit in there that I could imagine you could argue to take out, but it does identify some of the goals, which I think
I
it's
think
not
that's-
just that we want it, that we have to do it, I think we're gonna get some value from this group as well.
Okay, so we just get rid of the specifics on the proposal. On the
Yeah.
proposed stuff.
The
Stop-
proposed membership,
Stop
yeah.
after years.
So we're taking this off Peter Kubaki's desk.
No, I
No,
don't
I
think
mean,
we have,
he'll be
I
the
think we'll have to
staff
figure out how this
writer.
committee is gonna have to work.
He will be involved in this,
Right,
he's
but
part of it.
he's done all this before, previously.
he does all of
This
it,
is brand new.
Well,
This is
it's
brand new.
yes.
statutorily, we are now following the law versus
Not.
It's done in the past.
Okay.
So yes.
And this has been worked on, I mean, I've had conversations with Pete about this,
And
and
he's happy
yeah,
about that.
he is supportive.
I just
Okay.
wanna make sure that there's no inference that he's done a poor job.
Oh, no, quite the opposite. It is
Like, thank
astounding
God,
what he
please.
has been able to do, and we've communicated that, and I've said that exact thing to him when we talked about it, was this is in no way anything, I noticed we're not following the law.
Okay, one typo
Yeah.
in the word "and" in the second line. Planning board does not,
You're missing the A.
missing an A and
I've
"and."
already added it.
I want to get
Oh,
credit for that.
okay.
I'm sorry, Bill.
Bill gets
And in the
credit.
past, okay.
Okay, so did we vote on 32?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
No,
Are we comfortable with 32, with the warrant article itself?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Unanimous.
Wow.
Okay, I
That
think
is
we're through the list.
one big town meeting.
So now do we want to go back and decide who presents what?
Do we have to do that now, or can we do that in the future?
Well, we don't, the future is going to be 1 week before the meeting.
33 articles, but less 8.
Right.
Well, it's gonna be 20
Yeah,
something.
that's,
We're not meeting until 1 week before the,
Oh, Peter, keep going, it's
I
good.
have no choice, I know it's getting late, and we've got more to do. Okay, so people picking out their favorites, so we go down them? I can't remember what we've done in the past.
Nancy gets the big ones.
She likes to read them all.
Okay, we'll get it, okay, here we go, so we got Article 8, right?
Tell ourselves how
That's
many
the
we need.
fence.
Tell ourselves how many we need.
So 8 minus 33 is 25, so we each get 5. You're such a geek.
Jeremy does the last one.
Eh,
Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of big, long sentences we have to read, so.
Okay,
Well, Peter gets 28.
Should we work backwards?
Yeah,
So Jeremy gets 33.
Brandon, why don't you take over this part of the meeting? Please, seriously.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take 32 because that's the CIP one. And should I,
yeah, just go back, just go,
I'll just do all those, I'll do those 4 till we get to Peter.
Sure.
So we don't have to go.
yes.
Yep.
And then Peter.
Okay, Peter. And then the contingency fund.
wait, sorry, I just wanna make, are you getting these all, Carrie?
Peter's 28, Joanna's 29 to 32.
Okay, okay.
I hardly have to read anything. Oh, way to score.
That's why you're
We
in charge
usually-
of the meeting.
I've already lost it.
27 is the,
Just a sign. Just a-
okay.
Well,
Except Bill should do the, Bill should
Yeah.
do
Contingency.
the, Bill should do the, no, Bill
So
should do the,
20, Bill, why don't you do 27 through 24?
Bill should do the contracts, I was coming up
Right,
with the
that's what
word.
I'm saying, so 24 through 27.
Got
We'll
it,
do those 4.
got it.
And then Nancy will do 23, 22. Wait a minute. 23, 22.
I'm not even, I've ever done it. Just keep assigning, just keep assigning.
This is great.
21 and 20.
Yeah, I can do those.
No, let's do 21. Because 17 through 20 should be done by the same person. Because those are the land conservation, 4 land conservation
Yep.
ones. So you're gonna do 21, 22, 23. Athos, you're gonna do 17, 18, 19, 20.
And, great,
You're gonna do
17.
16, you're gonna do 16 through 20.
16 through 20.
And I'm gonna do 21?
Yep.
Okay.
And then we're at 15.
So, wait, let's just slow down. So 16 is the big one on the rental ordinance, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You ready for that?
We're just giving it to August.
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
So 15 is gonna be a hotly contested one. And all of those people were my friends, so I'm happy to take that one if you want me to.
You want 16, is that what you're saying?
No, 15.
15,
Sure.
sure, take 15.
I'll take 15. Cause that's the, Oh yeah, we saved 258 acres of forest, and there's 5 acres of housing that we want to convey to a housing authority.
People are stitched out of their minds.
So I'm happy to take that on.
And we can move a parking lot.
Okay, come on, keep going. Good job.
Okay, so we're at 14. Boy, these are.
You want me to try that one? Okay, I'll save my wad for the big one if you want me to, or
I'll do
Well, we
You want
usually,
Bill, what we?
14 and
we usually give
15.
Peter fewer,
Right.
because he talks longer.
You willing to do 14, 15?
I'll do 14, 15, and then, so 13, that's the solar, and 12 is the veterans.
I'll do
You wanna do those two?
12, 13. Okay.
And then we've got the bonds, we have 3 bonds.
9, 10, and 11?
It's a lot of reading, you wanna go there, Nancy?
Yeah, 9, 10, and 11.
I know you like to read.
I'm a baby.
And then we just have 8. You wanna do 8, Peter? So that means Peter has 2.
8, which one is 8? 8 is?
8 is the fence viewers.
Just read.
Oh, that's the fun.
You can start off.
No, Peter gets it.
Okay, I got
You
it.
get that
Peter
one, you
gets
get one fun one and one crappy one.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one from Okay,
When I retire, can I be a fence viewer?
Yes.
Yes,
We're gonna,
yes.
when you leave the board, do you want to?
Ask what the
I wanna
salary
be
is
the
first.
surveyor of the wood and timber.
okay. I
1 year
think
from
we're
now.
done with that part of the meeting. I know we're gonna have a
Carrie, did you get all of that?
non-public
Thank
session,
you.
so I'm trying to move us along.
Yep.
So we're done with 6. Thank you very much, well done. Banner request. Building Society in Storrs Pond.
I move we support the banner request for Storrs Pond.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
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 Approved. I'd like to not pick, I had a chance to look at the minutes and I do have some comments, but I wasn't able to work on it. So I'd like to move those to the next meeting.
So pick a package of reading. I second that motion.
Okay, so what's the right word?
Table.
Table
Table
till the
till,
next meeting. And I'll have a chance to look at it. Administrative report.
Okay, budget, we're gonna be updating a little bit of information from the approval. There's just like a few very small tweaks, not in the appropriations, of course. And just make sure all the slides, like double checking all the numbers, that's all gonna get updated tomorrow. I think I mentioned last time that I did speak with both organizations about the percent requests, or maybe I didn't. And I have spoken to them, and all parties agreed that perhaps in the future we could make the eligibility process application, the whole thing, a little more streamlined, clear, what projects fall in, what doesn't, what don't, things of that nature, which I think makes some sense. There's not a lot of good information on our website about that. Human resources, in the last month we had 1 rehire and 1 employee leave employment. Year to date, we have 17 onboards, a handful of those are seasonal, and 7 offboards. Last Thursday, our new HR director and myself met with department heads and had quite a good conversation, I think, about the study that we are just about preparing to begin for the rest of the year. This is, of course, the follow-up to the salary study that we began last year. So this is going to be pretty interesting. We're still working out we got some really good feedback from department heads on how to structure this in ways to kind of maximize how many employees can be involved, but also being sensitive that there's not a lot of people sitting around with a ton of time on their hands right now. And so how do we get people involved, but balance that with people's schedules? A whole bunch of things that were pretty interesting. So in the next couple of weeks, or certainly by the next report, I'll have a better summary of kind of what the plan is. We've broken it out into, basically we're following a sort of chronology of all steps of working in Hanover. So the first step being the needs assessment from the department, what services are being provided, et cetera. The next is the recruitment of an employee, then the onboarding, then the retention, then advancement, then offboarding. And each of those kind of topic areas gives us the ability to study a different piece of one's potential employment here. And so we're putting together the sort of framework for how to look at that. The next is we have a bunch of vacancies, and actually the list that I had did not include, there were 5 that for some reason there's some bug in our employment software, and a few of the positions are not posting for some reason, but so this list that I have, which I would consider somewhat extensive, there's 5 more vacancies, and they're all in public works. So that is a kind of, there are some major concerns we have right there, especially with light and heavy equipment operators. That is a really challenging one. And I talked to the other town managers in other towns. Everybody is stuck with this right now. And this is one of the good examples that employees raised last year that the market study didn't really capture, that some jobs, for example, police and firefighters, for the most part, those employees, we are competing with other towns for those jobs. Public Works and some Parks and Rec employees, we're competing a little bit with other towns, but we're actually competing with private employers, especially for CDL and the commercial driver's license employees. So that is definitely a challenge, and we've met a few times with HR. We're trying to figure out some ways to get a few people in the door there. The light equipment operator is a non-CDL position, and the idea is you get somebody in, they stay, they get their CDL, they move up to heavy equipment. But the CDL process has gotten a little more difficult from federal regulations, and so we're thinking about, we have so many vacancies that we are saving a little bit through those, and do we have enough to basically pay for someone's CDL instead of them having to pay for it? And that's one of the things that we're looking at as a recruitment strategy right now. And we do that for some other licenses and some other positions. What's that?
For police.
Yeah, for police, and I would say we've even been bringing in a number of staff in different positions who don't have all of the exact experience but are great. We want to bring them in, and then we want to train them up. We're doing that in the assessing office. I would potentially put myself in that category, and that is probably more of the model that we're going to be moving to, is identifying the right people and then who want to work here, and then getting them the licenses and certifications they need. So it's just a big, there's a lot of concern right now in public works, and we're also talking with other towns to see if there's some way that we can do something together as far as getting a staff who works for a town to become a CDL instructor, and then maybe doing something with multiple towns. So that's the sort of HR update. Hanover Community Power, we had an interesting information session last week. I learned a couple things from it as well, and that is just really exciting. That's all moving forward, and if people are
How many people attended that?
Ooh, in the room,
Round numbers.
maybe 40 or 50.
Oh, good.
And Zoom, it seemed like a bunch more. I don't actually know how many, but a lot of questions came in over Zoom. And so it seemed like there was a very big Zoom audience.
That's great.
There's a fair amount of confusion, I would say.
Really?
I've had a number of people contact me and say, what?
There seems to be, and some of the questions that came up at the end was about how to opt up and what opting up means. And so I think Sustainable Hanover is working a little bit on some of that, and we'll try to figure out some language to make sure that it's clear for people.
And a good blitz went out today. I mean, that was a nice, clear, they sent something out and I actually opened it and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, good,
So I
okay.
used that, I forwarded it to people.
Excellent. And people can call Town Hall, but there's also now a CPCNH contact center. And so if you go on our website, we have the phone number, email address, website for all of that. You can also get that at communitypowernh.gov/Hanover. Downtown Hanover Working Group. So we had our sort of capstone meeting for the 4 2-week sessions that we had set up. And now that meeting is moving to Sawtooth, and it's gonna be once a month on the first Thursday of the month. For business owners, we broke up into, or identified 5 or 6 different working groups that different business owners and stakeholders will be involved with. Identified the stakeholders that are really important to be at every really kind of engaged fully, which was the business owners, college administration, college students, town staff, and the UVBA. And that those were what the stakeholders that everybody wanted to make sure was kind of at everything as much as possible. And I did meet with Tracy from the UVBA today to talk about some of that as well. There's a letter in the town report that gives some updates from the business community, but to put a point on some of the things that we really want to figure out is I don't know if folks have noticed, I only learned about this last, I think on Friday, actually, or Thursday or Friday, that the True Value is, the folks who own it are retiring, and that is probably happening in the next couple weeks. And it sounds like there's been some efforts to try and sell it, and that's been really challenging. And some of the feedback that I've heard from Tracy and from other business owners is, the last few years has been really hard on a lot of small business owners, and there's just a lot of people who are just tired, and they just and they're having trouble hiring people, and they just don't want to do it anymore. And my sense of it was that the hardware store was kind of a major anchor in the downtown, and a lot of effort went in with the college to get that there. And so in other towns that I've been in, there's been a more robust infrastructure of being aware of who's coming in and who's coming out, and trying to intervene if able and help support or figure things out. And so it was sad to hear that. I mean, I'm sad, obviously folks need to do what they need to do for themselves, that makes sense. And there's probably some good deals to be had there now, but overall, the sort of not communication about it, we just want to be much more involved, and on the town side, be able to be more supportive, and identify resources or grants or whatever the things are. So that sort of puts a fine point, I think, on what we're trying to do with this group.
And we can't be a town without a hardware store.
It's a huge loss.
Yeah.
It's really
Huge
sad.
loss.
Yeah.
Does the college own that building?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're still trying to have some, I think that their decision is made, as my understanding, the business owners, and obviously wish them the best in their retirement, which I am sure is much, much earned, but also obviously disappointing, broadly. A couple other updates. On the traffic safety front, this has been something that one of the many projects that has unfortunately just not got the attention it's needed over the last 2 months with budget and everything else. And so I have started gathering all of the existing standards that we have, so that if there is a complaint or an issue, we have local standards, state standards, federal standards. When myself and our directors of police, public works, and planning met to talk about it, one of the things that we wanted to make sure we were all clear on was getting all the existing documentation in one place and creating sort of a table of contents, a one-stop shop for understanding what can or can't go in different places in town. And basically what we identified was that we have 3 goals for this group, which we're going to put back together within the next month, which is we want to be able to respond to complaints that come in, the sort of reactive issues, more consistently and more uniformly. We also want to be more proactive, and so thinking about like the Main Street reconstruction and sidewalks that we've talked about, how do we look ahead and do things that are not complaints necessarily, but are potentially policy changes, or new programs or initiatives. And then the third thing, which I think is really important, which is to identify how we reevaluate the standards that we have. And when, there are moments when standards should be pushed back on, and we should say these standards don't work for us anymore. And there are moments when we say, well, these are the standards, and how do we sort of navigate that? So we're going to be working on that a little bit, and just we have a handful of complaints that have been written up by folks in different neighborhoods, and we have all of those ready to discuss. We just haven't put the group, the staff back together yet. So we're just doing a little bit of that legwork, just unfortunately just a little delayed, kind of like everything else right now. The next one is town hall hedges. And so these are the bushes right out in front of the building here. We've engaged some of the feedback that we've gotten through the business group and a few other places is creating more public gathering space in the downtown, and that we have, the benches are amazing and we have a lot of places to sit, but not a lot of places to gather that are public, where some people can go and they don't have to buy something to be there. And so what we are looking at right now is the hedges just on the left side of the building, over here. If we can remove those, how much seating could we fit? We've talked to some business owners. There's actually 2 businesses that are willing to donate tables for that, which is really nice. And so we're just looking at making sure that that space could be ADA accessible, what kind of surface needs to be on it, how do we want to keep it green a little bit, so we're looking at some plantings around the edge of the building. How do we make sure, do we need privacy because there's some windows right there into offices, could be a little awkward. Making sure it doesn't conflict with the vendor spaces. So we brought a few staff together to work on that. And the idea is that this would be kind of a demonstration project. And the surveying that I did ahead of time, the informal surveying, was that nobody that I talked to, and I'm hoping this is still the case as I'm saying this here, that nobody was really, really wed to the hedges.
So those, I think they're used. Is that how you?
Yes, that is what they are.
And
Yes.
they're overgrown, and we have in our Parks and Rec who are responsible for our trees, we have an arborist, and it would be good to engage.
He is.
Good.
He's in it. Yep.
Good.
So we brought some planning staff, Asa, John Sherman, a few other staff together to kind of figure out what we can do here and try to do it before Public Works gets super busy for the summer. And so that's the idea. Try first phase, and if it goes well and people like it, then maybe expand that to the other side of the building and use that, to build other projects.
Maybe there are other places in town that can use them.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thank you.
good there. Okay, so then, well, a couple other updates. The election vote tabulator testing. I did include an update from our town clerk, and so it was I think I sent a link out to a machine. It's a slightly different machine, but a very similar thing. I did get confirmation, which is in the update here. Secretary of State's office and the vendor will be on site 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. town meeting to service and support and all of that. We're almost done with the website, the town website. There's a couple things left that we've been going back and forth on a little bit. But I guess I said this a few weeks ago, but I think we're a couple weeks away from having that done. And that is going to be a huge improvement over what we have currently. Last thing is one of the things that came out from some conversations that I had with Sion Bialek, the incoming president at Dartmouth, was just thinking about, we have really great, really amazing actually, staff-to-staff interactions between different departments, planning and public safety. And one of the things that we wanted to identify was some sort of high-level, non-day-to-day meetings where, a handful of the senior staff of the town and the college can get together and not get sucked into reacting to all the stuff that's happening, and just sort of step back for a little bit and just, what are our plans, what are our goals, and things of that nature. And we did start that a few weeks ago, and it was a great conversation. And so I think that's going to net us a lot of value. We're talking about potential future field trips again, which I think the last time the town and the college did that resulted in amazing sustainability initiatives that we are working on right now. And so we just don't want to get stuck. It's so easy to get pulled into the day-to-day. And so, for Rick Mills and Josh and myself and Rob, there's just a bunch of us that just get sucked into day-to-day stuff. And so this is sort of a protected space to think long-term and do that. And so I just appreciate the college engaging with us like that. And I just think there's going to be a lot of value there. So that's it.
Thank you. Selectboard reports.
Nothing to report.
Nothing.
Your planning board met on Tuesday, April 4. We approved an application from the Dresden School District to relocate and replace portions of the high school track, especially the northern end, and they hope, because it has to do with also laying down materials in the parking area near the track. I helped suggest to them that they be done before the November elections, because that is going to be the whole area that we are bringing voters in. So they hope to be able to get all of that work done within September and October at the latest. The second and larger item was the application by the owner of 14 West Wheelock, and there were so many questions about questions and unanswered problems that the planning board has taken that whole application and asked for it to, and recommended that it be reheard on Tuesday, May 2nd. That again is a full public hearing. With the property that in question is the one just downhill from the Christian Science Church rather. And I would recommend that any and all citizens who are interested come again. That we had a full venue, yes, and I would suggest that people come again, because people obviously have a lot of questions and have good questions and want to hear more about the applicant's plans for that property.
And Hanover Bike Walk Group, April 30th is the rodeo, which is Sunday. And then there is a bike walk to school day on a Wednesday in May, I'm not sure what day. And then the Hanover Historical Society on the 11th is hosting Steve Taylor to talk about the New Hampshire roads not taken. And it's actually a really interesting talk. Steve Taylor was the Commissioner of Ag for decades for the state, and it's from 6:30 to 7:30 at Howe, or you can zoom in online. So
What's the date on
April 11th. So that's tomorrow.
that?
There you go.
Okay, other business, just report to the board. I'm ready to finish up the select board report for the town report, and I've gotten feedback from some of you which I will incorporate, and if anyone else has more, get it to me tonight or tomorrow morning. Because by noon this will be done. Okay, so there is any other business? There has been a request for a non-public session to discuss items pursuant to RSA 91A 3E and L.
Bill Garrity, yes?
Ethel Strauss, yes.
Peter Christie, yes.
Nancy Carter, yes.
Joanna Wakeham, yes.
We are in non-public session.
Here, this is the Arbor.
Yes.
Canceling, it was like, oh, 4:17.